Welcome to the Krug Show. Man, what a game that was. 49ers go to Philly and they beat the Eagles. Slapped them around. Who knew? 42-19, I believe, was the final. And yes, my Niners to the over bet covered. It was the only thing I cashed today. But yes, the 49ers get a win. Welcome to the Krug Show. After Niner football, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 to 8. Go get the brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And we're also brought to you by New York style Italian sausage. The only kind of Italian sausage I eat is New York style Italian sausage. And then we're also brought to you by Marin Autoglass, marinautoglass.com. Give them a call, 415-883-3030. And let's not forget Mojo Fantasy and Underdog Fantasy. You can check the links in the description and use that promo code KRUG, KRUEG, and they will match you up to your first $100. Guys, that was enjoyable. I didn't sleep well last night getting ready for this one. 42-19. Where do we start? I think Deebo is the guy that I always think of as, he talks it, but, he talks the talk, but if you can walk the walk, you can talk all you want. And he said earlier this week, I called Bradbury trash. I ain't taking it back, and I'll see you on Sunday. And then he shows up on Sunday, 4 catches, 116 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, and then rushing, 3 carries, 22 yards, add in a 3rd touchdown. And Deebo just absolutely was monster. And he made this thing his personal playground. And then what can we say about Brock Purdy? Very much in the MVP race, you'd have to think after this one. 19 of 27, 314 yards. He goes back to where his elbow got ripped out of the socket, basically. And in his first game back, throws 4 touchdowns, no picks, 146.8 or 148.8 passer rating. 49ers have won 4 straight. They're rolling. They still don't have home field in the NFC. Guys, let's go around the room. Give me your takeaways from this one. There were several outside of the 2 guys that I just mentioned, but what an impressive performance all the way around. Kev, since you are the producer of this thing and you've got the brightest lights going, why don't we start with you? What did you think of the game?
I mean, just a dominant performance after having probably the worst quarter of offensive football we've seen from Kyle ever. Coming back and dropping a 40 bomb against the Eagles in their place in a rematch that there was so much shit talking. There was so much it didn't matter that Brock Purdy was injured last time. I mean, you got to feel good. You just got to feel good about this game. And I think this is the game that defines the 49ers as the team to beat in the NFL.
Baller, what'd you think?
Hey, first 2 possessions, the Niners go 3 and out. And what was puzzling was it was all empty sets, right? Obvious passing situations. I'm saying, Kyle, what are you doing? And then after those first 2 possessions, they put together 6 touchdown drives in a row. And what I loved about that was how these weapons all maximize their targets. They were all ultra efficient, big yards per catch, the physicality after the catch. How many times did we see Deebo catch a ball, shrug off a tackler, go for extra yards? Juwan Jennings catch a ball, stiff arm a guy, go for a first down. George Kittle, the physicality. It felt like all 11 players that were on the field at any given time were saying, I'm going to do everything possible for the Niners to win that game. They showed up. They out-physicaled another physical team. Dominant performance.
Rye? What'd you think, Rye?
Yeah, I didn't watch the game. Actually, I just kind of slept in.
Rye's
woke up.
very
What's going on?
he's really more here for the video. He doesn't actually participate audio wise. Rye, what'd you think? I know you got opinions on this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something like creative that not everyone else is gonna say. It was just, I mean, the Niners just clapped those cheeks. Like, this was exactly what you wanted to see. It was exactly what you wanted to see. I think immediately I'm like, I'm trying to figure out like how I can still be kind of annoyed at like Philly fans. There's a lot of people going around saying, "Oh, congrats, Niners. You won your Super Bowl in week 14. Congrats on your week 14 Super Bowl." Like, we're like some poverty franchise. Like, it's the Niners. Like, we've been in the NFC Championship game like the last 3 years. So, yeah, this is. I will say, this was a tough spot for Philly. This is about as tough as it gets. And now they've got Dallas next week. Dallas is a 3-point favorite. And
Dallas is coming off 10 days rest too.
Yeah, Dallas is on an absolute heater. For some reason, they keep Jalen Hurts in, until the end of the game. And then I was going so deep because I was trying to figure. I was like, I don't know if the Niners are gonna be able to pull off the 1 seed. They got the Ravens, all this stuff. The Seahawks have to show up in their game after the Cowboys. It's Seahawks Eagles. Now, normally I'd think, Eagles they'll beat these Seahawks. That's no big deal. Except if the Niners beat the brakes off the Seahawks this week, then all of a sudden the Seahawks are like, it's literally is going to be a like win or you're out of the playoffs scenario. So there is a world where Philly goes and loses 3 straight. I think there absolutely is.
Wouldn't that be sweet? Before we go any further, this guy has to be brought back. I don't like to do a lot of I told you so's, but I got to play this guy's words again. Here we go. Eagle fan ready for the return of the 49ers.
A real professional football team with real professional men take a loss. Instead, they cried about it. Oh, if our quarterback wasn't hurt, if you would have freaking blocked for him, he would have been hurt. You suck. You're not man enough to admit it. Now you're going to come back here and you're going to get your ass kicked again. I will show you how men play. Not like those little whiners from the West Coast who drink their little wine with their pinkies up and act like you're so superior. Guess what? This is Philly. You're going to lose. You suck.
Guess what? This is Philly, and they won.
The most normal Philly fan right there.
See, my thing, I got to say this.
Guy.
Just in defense of the Philly-ness of it all, there was a lot of, so like that guy, that video was going around a lot on Twitter. I was seeing a lot of Niners like content creators and like Twitter people responding to that, like talking about like, I'd like, you must just be saying that because like it sucks to live in Philly. It sucks because the weather. Oh, we've got the good weather over in San Francisco. So I saw some lame responses. Like just kind of, you have to just embrace that. Like this is all of a sudden kind of an awesome rivalry. And
the Philly guys are great. It's 64 degrees and partly cloudy. Cooler on the coast and warmer inland. That's right, every single day. Oh man, yeah. No, Danny, what'd you think?
Well, I got a few comments. First of all, the day started off great with Jerry Rice showing off all his rings to the Philly fans.
And flipping birds.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. Next, I thought about this long and hard, and I thought, I watch every game with the NFL Network. There's a lot of crappy quarterbacks in this league. Brock Purdy.
We're in a quarterback recession right now.
Yeah. Brock Purdy, I'm going to just go out on a limb and say he's the MVP. He is Hurts was getting all the MVP talk last week, and Purdy outplayed him. 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards, no picks.
70% completion percentage.
Another passer rating over 140.
Yeah, 148. Come on. Where's the media? This guy is a top 3-4 quarterback in the entire NFL, and he's having the best year of any quarterback. Let's start getting an MVP talk. Also, I got that right there. I want my $1,800, okay, for I bet on Purdy being the MVP. So
it's all about Danny's cash.
Let's get
Every
me that.
one of Dan's takes is tied to a bank account.
And then the other thing that I loved so much today was Lenore's smackdown on Swift. I just love that. That was just like, bam.
That was a monster hit. That was like, hey, this one's for Dre Greenlaw back in the locker room. Boom. I just gave you a Dre Greenlaw hit. Oh, you thought Dre Greenlaw was out of this game? Here's a little Dre Greenlaw for you. Yeah. What'd you think of the Greenlaw ejection?
BS. Total BS. The guy put his hands on Greenlaw's chest. You don't do that to players if you're a coach or a security guard or whatever the heck the dude was. Come on. Greenlaw was putting back at, hey, don't touch me. You don't touch players. You just don't.
Yeah, it's not interactive. You're not part of the game. You're there to watch. Yeah,
that also was like the best double ejection trade of all time
for them. Yeah,
I mean, he's just a guy on the sideline, and you're double ejecting some random security guy for the tone setter of the defense.
I mean, you're going to allow fans to just come out. What are you going to do? Throw a player out if a guy comes out and Greenlaw throws him down because his safety? You don't mess with players. You just don't.
All those frustrated Eagle fans who were, you guys aren't tough, didn't like that Greenlaw hit. They
also didn't. The other thing was the tackle was totally fine. Devontae Smith ran through for a first down on 3rd and 17 earlier. They missed tackles. They couldn't get him down. He was still fighting for yardage, so Greenlaw picked him up and threw him down. He didn't.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to pick someone up and then throw them down. That's why I got flagged.
I still think it's. Hey, come on, it's not flag football. I mean,
how about the huge hit on the first play of the game? The message sender from Fred Warner. Hurts goes to Gainwell, and was it Warner and Mooney Ward that smoked him right there in the first play? Maybe it was more Mooney actually. And then Mooney had the big PBU on AJ Brown that forced on the back shoulder on that first drive that forced the field goal. I thought the Niners, defense played with a lot of poise, considering, they had some bad breaks, they had gotten some bad position, and yet they didn't lose their poise. I felt like they lost their poise in that Cincinnati game on a couple of plays. We haven't seen that since. So to me, I think if there's one thing that really stands out in this game, and wait until we watch the All-22, we can actually see the coverage and study it a little bit. But didn't it seem like Hurts had several times, and he just had nowhere to go with the ball?
Yep.
So, I mean, the Niner pass coverage, I think the revelation that has to be talked about a lot is the jump from Isaiah Oliver to Ambry Thomas is absolutely huge. Ambry Thomas is physically very much the prototype, and he runs 4.4 flat, and he's playing the best football of his career right now. There were several times where I gotta think the coverage must have been incredible because Hurts held the ball for 4 or 5 seconds at a time and wound up with nothing, looking downfield the whole time. It wasn't the rush up front that was getting to him. It was really the coverage. And I think we saw that in the Jacksonville game as well, guys. I think the Niner pass coverage really has been dramatically improved over the last couple of weeks.
Got to give it up to Steve Wilkes. I mean, that was the great thing about bringing him in, right? Was well, it's going to be a little different, but supposedly, he's a coverage guy. The secondary should get better. And then, I know I ripped him. I think we all kind of ripped him. And then now it's all of a sudden the Niners secondary is looking pretty good. I mean, yeah, you could watch Lane Johnson, I thought, did a great job with Bosa.
How about the one where he just buried? Yeah. How about when he just buried him into the turf? I mean,
yeah,
Lane Johnson is just a beast.
Injured too.
Yeah, I mean,
no, I think the secondary played amazing today. You can't really see it all because it's the TV copy, but I mean, Hurts was standing back there for it seemed like a 5 count. He was just waiting, and the fact that there was no one open, and then when he did throw the ball, the Niners corners were there. I'm looking at the stats. Ward had 4 pass deflections. Thomas had 3.
Right.
So I mean, they were there all game.
Yeah. No, these guys. I mean, the coverage since the bye week is the big difference. I mean, I saw. Believe me, I was on the binoculars and on the almost the near end zone, kind of the 10-yard line, 15-yard line, in that Bengal game, and the Niners. Everybody was open at all times. I mean, the coverage was terrible. I mean, they didn't even, it was like no resistance. There was Burrow always had somebody open. I mean, open. And the coverage just had to be better. So, and then to take a week off and pop out Oliver and pop in Ambry and suddenly look at the coverage. Lenore's coverage has been tight, and then Ambry's coverage is tight. Mooney seems like he's had almost his best couple games the last couple weeks. So, I thought that was interesting. The Niners came out early and it looked bad. Right? That first quarter, I mean, they give up. Purdy gets sacked by Cox and Reddick. They're forced to punt, and then, the Gregory misses the sack and Hurts rumbles. And the Niners' first two series, I mean, they didn't. I would have loved to have seen them use McCaffrey. I guess they did throw to McCaffrey on 3rd and 12 on the first series, but they, once they got him going, McCaffrey obviously was outstanding and Deebo was outstanding. It was just overall, you'd have to say that, early Kinlaw made a huge play to kind of force a field goal, and Mooney made a big play to force a field goal. If you're down 14-0 early, this is a much different game. Instead, it was 6-0 early, and it just felt like it was there for the taking.
Not only was the coverage really good, like you guys mentioned, but the fact that the Niners were able to shut down the Eagles' run game certainly helps. Coming into the game, I thought one of the keys was, who's going to be able to establish the run, and that was the 49ers. Not in the first couple series,
right?
But that third series, finally, Kyle went under center. I was waiting for the under center because he was living in shotgun those first two drives. But McCaffrey ran it efficiently. And on the flip side, they shut down DeAndre Swift, who has been a really good back this year. The Eagles averaged 2.6 yards per carry. The Niners averaged 5.2, double that. So the fact that the Niners shut down the run and were able to establish it on the other end, fellas, I think that was a huge difference maker.
The other thing I thought was big in this game, it seemed like on the Niners' third possession, right? They're down 6-0, and they get the ball back at their own 15. And CMC tackled for a loss by Sidney Brown on the first down. And you're like, oh, my God. Are they going to get anything going? Then Burford has a penalty, and it's like 2nd and 10. They're back at now it's 2nd and 15. They're back on their 10-yard line. They're behind the sticks. They're already down 2 scores. Things look bleak. And I thought Purdy kind of elevated right there. He found Ayuk on the 2nd and 15 on a nice little out route, I think, for 12. Then on 3rd and 3, it was an empty set. They emptied the backfield, and Purdy found Kittle for a first down. And I just felt like they started to kind of get their rhythm right there, just a couple of first downs. Then they got to 3rd and 1. They were at their own 35. And, basically they went with what I thought was a phenomenal play for Brock Purdy. And that is anytime on 3rd and short, you can get one of your weapons crossing his face. I think that's so high percentage. Sure enough, that's exactly what Shanahan dialed up. Purdy on the crosser to Deebo, right, crossed his face, and it was almost like an extended handoff. And that was a big play. That was a 12-yard gain on 3rd and 1, got him out to roughly midfield. Then he hits Kittle for 32 yards to get down into the red zone. And then what I thought was one of the biggest plays of the entire game, 1st and goal from the 10, and Purdy runs, takes a big hit, I thought, from Bradley Roby, broke the tackle, and got 6 yards down to the 4. And it was almost kind of like, I almost felt like that was like his statement, like, hey, you know what? You knocked me out of the last game, but I'm not like some fragile guy who can't take hits. I'm going to run over your safety and get down to the 4. It was very Jim McMahon-esque, going back to the Bears in the mid-'80s. And then, of course, they get the penalty on Philly on offsides on Josh Sweat on 3rd and goal, which really was a great one. Set him up at the 2, and then Purdy to Ayuk, and he was, he led him Ayuk made a diving catch, then he rolled over the ball. Philly challenged, and I thought, if they're going to reverse this, that is going to be ugly. Instead, they didn't, and I just felt like right there, what a kick to the gut that whole drive was. I thought Purdy stepped up 4 or 5 times with some really big plays to get the Niners on the board and kind of get the offense going. What'd you guys think of that first scoring drive that made it 7-6 Niners?
Oh, it's critical that they did something. I mean, they had to come away at least with a field goal, get some points. But, the fact that they drove it down and, you mentioned Baller, the first two series they were in shotgun, no, empty set. I wonder if Kyle was doing that just to test the waters, see what Philly's D was going to look like, setting them up, because you'd think he would come out running, because that's their weakness, Philly's weakness. And he kind of opened it up later on, though, and I wonder if he was, just trying to see what Philly's defense was going to do in response. I don't know. But I thought the drive was crucial. Purdy just hitting dimes on key third downs, hitting Ayuk on outs. I mean, it was just I'm telling you, we watch Purdy week in and week out. There's something special. There really is something special when you watch the way he throws the ball. I don't want to hear all this crap about he's a system quarterback. They got weapons. He's got to put the ball where they're at, and he does it. And I watch all these other quarterbacks who can't put a ball in where the receivers are at. I mean, he's top 5, bar none.
The guy to me also, I thought the other big drive, the first one obviously to make it 7-6, but the Philly next possession, Hurts made that play to Devontae Smith, and he just ran through Diamador's arm tackles and looked beastly, right? On 3rd and 19 for a first down. And you're thinking, okay, 7-6, anybody's ball game, 21-yard gainer from Hurts to Devontae Smith. But then you get down, a little bit on the next series on that same drive, and Hurts goes to Quez Watkins, and Ambry Thomas has a tremendous PBU. Now, the announcers were like, that could have been PI, but then Hurts threw it away on the next play and forced a punt. And so the Niners get it back. And then we're talking about, about 4 minutes left in the second quarter, and they're back on their own 10-yard line. And it's just right away, Purdy goes to Deebo for 9 yards. Juice has the great block, and he catches a bad snap. It wasn't a great night from Brendel snapping the ball. That was one of many bad snaps. Then CMC runs for a first down on 2nd and 1. Purdy goes to Kittle for a first down at the on the 26-yard line, and they just keep the drive going. And then eventually they wind up scoring the touchdown on the CMC 3-yard run, 10-play drive. But I thought that was a huge drive as well, and it just kind of showed right there that you can get us backed up on our own 10. Things aren't going our way. I mean, the kid played with a lot of poise in this game. And I thought that drive right before half was absolutely huge, because not only did they drive all the way down the field, 10-play drive, go 90 yards in 10 plays, but then they also burned the entire clock. And then Shanahan got exactly what he wanted, which was the touchdown going in to make it 14-6 and the touchdown coming out to make it 21-6, and all without Philly. I mean, Philly had a couple snaps there at the end, but I think there's only 20 seconds left. So they ran one play and ran back to the locker room. So, the 49ers got what they wanted from the opening snap. They got the game on their terms. The rain stayed away, so it was a dry enough game you could handle the football. It kind of took away the chance of making mistakes. And then Purdy, I didn't think was great early. He looked a little jittery early, but man, he settled in. And the Niners' weapons, the one thing you can say without a doubt, the Niners have tremendous weapons, and they have run after the catch ability. The Eagles, I think, were second or third in the league in stopping run after the catch yardage. The Niners piled up big run after the catch yardage in this game. So the Niners kind of showed that they were the more dominant team in that area. But what's also really clear now, guys, is that Purdy can execute this offense. So Kyle can dial it up. The weapons are there. And it really is just going to be about, can the offensive line just do enough? You know, at first they looked like really overwhelmed at the beginning of this game. I thought Feliciano was going to start at right guard. Was there some news? Because I saw Burford at right guard. I don't know if you heard anything, but to me, if the Niner offensive line can just play decently and keep Brock Purdy somewhat upright, the 49ers have a great chance this year of being standing up at the end, because they've got the rest of it. They got the quarterback that can operate it. They got the great play caller. They got all the weapons, and they got a really good defense.
I loved how they continued to run the ball off of Trent Williams. They were running left. You know, Aaron Banks, Trent, those guys were opening up holes. And if it's working, I loved how Kyle stuck with it, because that left side, they were gashing the Eagles defense running left.
Yeah. Behind Trent and Banks. And then sometimes they put Kittle over there. I also thought they did a nice job of, especially early, chipping and giving Reddick another guy to contend with over there. I thought they did a nice job, and I have to go back and look at it, but there were a few snaps I remember. It's like there's Colton blocking him, and there's a guy like right off Colton's shoulder waiting to block him if he gets away from Colton. So that was, and to me, the momentum shift back to Philly with the Greenlaw ejection, that was another big scoring drive for Purdy. I mean, you're talking third quarter, 49ers up 21-13. Deebo gets the 25-yard kickoff return, and they get to 3rd and 7 on their own 26, and he finds Ayuk against Slay on a comeback route, for 10 on 3rd and 7. I thought, that was a huge play in the game. I mean, the game's hanging in the balance there. It's 21-13. They just scored. The crowd's kind of with them. And that, I mean, it wasn't a touchdown to Ayuk, but it just kept that drive going. And then eventually, it was a Deebo that scored on the 48-yard touchdown. Was that the run, I guess, to make it 28-13? I mean, that was big. That, to me, that was a great play. Now, the announcers said, "Oh, the Niners benefited." They showed the Ronnie Bell hold on Blankenship that went uncalled. But I mean, heck, guys, they were letting them play tonight. It's like I'll say that they were letting them play. There was a number of things that were going on. It wasn't to me, the officials made no impact in this game.
Besides the ejection.
Yeah. Which was obviously bogus. You can't, come on. Now what? We're now going to put tons of people on the sidelines and incentivize them to mix it up with star players so we can eject star players and fat guys. I mean, what are we doing?
Mike Florio said that the NFL is looking into punishing that guy.
Florio is on one. Florio came out swinging. He's like, he's like, that guy should be banned forever from the league game. But apparently that guy's just a legend in Philly. He's just like a big, fat Italian security guy. Big Don or something like that.
Big Dom. Yeah. Hey, Dom. Man, the NFL is so weak, man. They banned a dude for a friend of Tyreek Hill who took his camera. Tyreek took his camera to celebrate, and they banned the guy's credentials. This guy on the sideline put his hands on an NFL player.
Wild.
I mean,
and if you actually, when they first showed the replay, I was like, oh, it's going to be tough to defend Dre there, because it kind of looks like he just tried to punch him in the face. But there is an angle, I think I retweeted it, where it really was, he barely glanced his face. It really wasn't that big of a deal. And he just kind of was pointing at him. Also, I don't know if you saw what Aziz tweeted, but Aziz was like,
what do you say?
Let me pull it up.
I
liked your tweet, the Draymond Greenlaw
Oh yeah, I know. It's what I've been watching way too much Warriors, and it's just like, God damn it, Draymond, why'd you?
We won't play the audio, but here's the video portion.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
There
We
go.
did see some jowls shaking there.
There were some jowls shaking.
There were some jowls.
well, what Greenlaw was saying and saying to the coaches is he put his hands on me. He put his hand. That's what he was telling Wilkes, because they were. You could see Wilkes was saying like, "Hey man, you can't." And he says he put his hands on me, and that's what he was doing over there on the sidelines. And he's saying, "Hey, don't." He reached out and said, "Don't touch me," and he got his face.
That's big.
And
Mike,
I
the
read
head of security,
Sirianni's-
though. He can do what he wants.
I read Sirianni's lips, while
What'd he
that
say?
altercation's going on. Sirianni said he needs to go. He needs to be ejected. It was like immediately Sirianni's begging the official.
Oh, speaking
for
of
that
Sirianni,
Greenlaw.
did you catch the mic when him and
Yeah,
Kyle?
he said sorry about.
He said, "I'm
something.
sorry." I think
Yeah.
he was saying, "I'm sorry. I didn't want that to get out of hand," or something along those lines.
Oh,
like I
Kyle was like complimenting him on the press conference, saying like, "Oh, he handled it like a professional." But like in the moment, he was screaming like, "Eject him! Eject him!"
He's like, "Oh, 57 better be out of this game." Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, though,
Sirianni was yelling, "Eject him! Eject him!" Yeah.
Greenlaw's going to get ejected for doing that 20 times out of 20 or 10 times.
Yeah.
That's
Stop,
just.
wait! Stop taking players off the field.
I'm not saying it's
come on.
right or wrong. I'm just saying
It's
like,
wrong.
if you touch an official in the face, you're going to get ejected. If you touch like someone who's not playing the game in the face, that usually happens. I feel like that's
Also,
what's
like,
gonna happen.
honestly, it probably was good because Greenlaw was making me a little nervous. Like, what is this guy gonna do in this game? Like, is he gonna just headhunt Hurts or something at some point? Like, he does get a little bit carried out,
I'm with Aaron Richardson here. The fat guy put his hands on the player first.
Yep.
I mean, come on. And in all situations, let's just agree you got to blame the fat guy. You got to blame.
How about just the
You got to
camera
blame
on
the
him
fat guy on
after?
the sidelines, right? You
It's just
can't-
like that guy, just the way that guy looked with like the gold sunglasses and he had like a gold Rolex. I'm like, this guy's just.
there might have been a
mobbed
pinky
up.
ring. There might have been a pinky ring.
Well, you can't
And
have
the
that
Philly
because
cheese-
Seriously, you can't have just bouncers on the sideline.
yeah, because what's the strategy next time you get into a big game? All right, we're gonna bring in big bruiser on the sideline. Hey, when they get close, just put your hands on this guy. Make him take a swipe at you.
Hey, man, that's Big Rick. He's an institution in this town. I don't care who he is. Get him off the field. All right, let's hit some supers here. We got Behan888. D-line put on a clinic containing Hurts. Excellent point. Not only Kalia Davis, by the way, first career sack from our man Kalia Davis. We're big fans of Kalia. Great
How about
guy.
Kinlaw too?
Kinlaw. Had a
Kinlaw
big
actually had a
day.
good. He had a good game stuffing the run.
Redemption. Kinlaw got a little redemption there in Philly. Brandon says the Eagles got pantsed. It's an expression I haven't heard in a while. Pantsed. Danny, did they do a lot of pantsing back in the day?
You mean like back in intermediate school?
Yeah.
A good pantsing is hilarious.
What happened to Kev? Did someone pants his line? Glass half full guy says not going. Rolly was a bit nervous in the beginning. What does it say? Not going. Royally was a
Maybe
bit.
not going to lie.
Oh, not going to lie. Was a bit nervous in the beginning. Nice to smack down the Eagles so thoroughly, and the 1 seed is still attainable. Kev, what happened there?
The bathroom.
Somebody said he went to get a belt for the pantsing.
You missed a super chat. Okay, I just
What
want
happened?
you to know. You missed a super chat. We're not going to go back. We're just going to go. We're going forward.
Okay.
You're just going to have to go back and see the joy that you missed out on. Casey Two Bears says, but the moron Nick Wright is going to say that Purdy didn't come from behind. Purdy is the clear front runner for MVP.
Was it a couple weeks ago? I announced that sadly Dak Prescott was going to win MVP, and I think that's what we're looking at right now.
Really?
I
Dak?
think so. And I think I think they're going to beat the Eagles, and then the hype train is just going to be off.
If Dak
be
has a
fine with
bad
that.
game, though, he's out of it. Like if he has one of those shitter games that he has sometimes, I think you could see the swing.
I think
God,
it's
it's hard to
whoever-
think. It's
whoever
hard to think
wins
that we saw the MVP of the league earlier this year because he did not. He looked
Yeah.
so bad in that game. Go ahead, Baller.
whoever wins the NFC, and gets that first seed in the bye, that quarterback is going to end up winning the MVP. Whether it's Hurts, Purdy and the Niners. I don't think the Cowboys would represent the NFC, but whoever gets that first seed, their quarterback's going to win the MVP.
What is going to happen to the anti-Purdiers if he wins the MVP? I mean,
Well,
what? I mean, that is just going to be. It's just going to be all kinds of guys. Just
Purdy is still
backpedaling.
first. Purdy's still first in passer rating, completion percentage, touchdowns per attempt, yards per attempt, and yards per completion.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
He's just a system guy, though.
It's all Shanahan. And then, of course, 3 weeks later, you're mad at Shanahan. Shanahan's got to go. Roberto Davis. Deebo talked that talk, and he walked that walk. Yes, he did. Yes, he did, Roberto. That's the beautiful part about it. It's kind of like Reggie. We like guys. I mean, if you talk big, you're either a buffoon or you're Joe Namath. Nobody's ever going Joe Namath as a buffoon. People have been buying Joe Namath drinks for the last 4 decades. He said, we're going to beat the Colts. And then he went in there and he did it. What Deebo said with Kay Adams this week, and she was like, what are you going to say to this guy and that guy? And what do you say to James Bradbury? He's like, I said it. I'm not taking it back. And then what do you say to him now? See you Sunday. Like, isn't that what he said? See you Sunday. We'll see you on Sunday. So, I mean, then to kind of be the guy that leads them out. And I'll say that I love Ray Ray. And Ray Ray is one of my favorite interviews on the team. Rye, you know how much I'm a big Ray Ray guy. But I think that Deebo in the kickoff game gives the team juice and physicality. It's like starting every drive by punching your opponent in the mouth. He takes it up on in there. He runs at full speed. He's not afraid of a big collision. He's not going to fumble with a monster hit. You can't you hit Deebo and the ball popped out. No, when he's running with the ball, he's looking for contact.
I would not want to be taking him coming at me.
No, that's the last
speed.
guy. He's a tone setter, man. He's an absolute monster tone setter. By the way, you know what I also loved in this game? I loved seeing J.P. Mason, even though it's just one run at the end. It's like, that's right. This guy's just sitting back here. It's like you got 5 cars and then you just roll out a Sunday car that's like really.
I feel like Deebo is like the sports car you only bring out when it's like a special occasion for the punts and stuff like that. Like
he's your Pagini.
He was a beast in South Carolina doing that. Yeah. He was a beast at that. But
I also think with Greenlaw out, I thought Oren Burks played pretty well.
He did. He had the hit on Hurts that knocked him out.
Yeah.
49er George says our guys were better than theirs. Hashtag cry Eagles cry. Hashtag boo-hoo. Hashtag not lazy. Thank you, George. Nobody's lazy. LNL says to Sirianni, go get your effing shine box. Grease ball.
Would have been great if Kyle would have walked out and did what Sirianni did in Kansas City. Hey, Phil, why are you not talking now?
Yeah, exactly.
He's way class here.
It would have been so anti-Shannon. It would have been just like totally out of character for him to do something like that.
Totally out of character. Be yourself. Gold Rush Killer says the Niners are the real beast in the East. We'll get to that in a second. Are the Niners the best team in all of pro football? Are they the team to beat? Does this tonight's or today's win establish them as such? We'll get to that. Paul Purdy, any relation, says this win was huge for the Krug show. Thank you.
That's all that matters.
It's all that matters. It's about us, Paul. And Paul, if you're related to Brock, damn right. All right, Flav's in the house. Flav always has has a lengthy chat. He's getting his money's worth. He says what Greenlaw did was incredibly dumb. Cannot happen. However, coaches and non-players on the sideline need to be held to the highest standard, and you cannot condone that S by throwing Greenlaw out. Such BS. I agree with every word of that. What Greenlaw did there was dumb. You are an all-pro linebacker. You're one of the reasons that this team has unbelievable swagger. You're a dominating player. Do not get taken off the field in the playoffs or again in any big game because of, Fat Leo from South Philly or whatever. It can't happen. It just can't happen. And I agree, though, the league's got to get what they got to do is they got to get these people off the sideline. Stop treating it like a little perk. There's all kinds of people on the sideline now. Have you noticed that?
It's very college football, like having like a professional holdback guy or something. Like
I think the guy gets a ban. I think there's just, the NFL's got to make a statement. You can't let that guy back next week. He's got to be, at least for the rest of this season, he's got to be off the field. Come on. I don't care if he's security or what. You don't touch players, man.
What's he security for? Would he be looking the other way at the stands if he's secure? Sounds like he's like security and maybe likes good seats or, I wouldn't mind a sideline pass, but they don't just get all essential non-essential personnel off the sideline.
The ultimate sideline move was when Mike Tomlin, right? Jacoby Jones is running up the sideline for that return touchdown, and then Mike Tomlin backpedals onto the field right in his way. That was the ultimate sideline move.
Yeah, dude, the Raiders didn't even allow some of their practice squad guys on the field. We got the chief of security out here. Like, what's going on?
Raiders probably found out there's some loophole. You didn't have to pay him if they weren't on the sideline. Brock Purdy's playing MVP level ball with one of the worst pass blocking offensive lines in the NFL. Fact. How about that? Imagine if the Niners did have some kick-ass, awesome line with all these guys that were,
like the Eagles line.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, Lane Johnson had that one block of Bosa where he just threw him down to the ground. I wouldn't want to have to go against Lane Johnson. That guy is just ridiculously strong.
Yeah, Lane Johnson won.
Sound.
Lane Johnson won today. If there was a win for the Eagles, he won today on Bosa.
Yeah,
he eliminated him.
But you know what? I think the next time, the Niners didn't do a lot of stunting. They didn't do a lot of. It was just a straight 4-man rush a lot of times.
It was by design, I think. They didn't. When you stunt, you sometimes give Hurts a lane.
Exactly. So they had the linebackers, kind of watching for that run, and they didn't do a lot of blitzing either. So if they meet again, I think there'll be some different things in store. You don't want to. I think showing everything, Niners, like the Eagles, will think, oh gosh, we can beat these guys just because our line can hold these guys up. That must have been some great coverage because there was times that it looked like I'm counting 5, 6, 7. It was
incredible.
Like
he had all day.
Yeah, it was like
the Niners D line. Let's be honest. After those 2 long 12-play drives, the Niners defense looked pretty gassed much of the day. They looked really, really tired.
Yeah.
But overall, what I liked about the Niner rush, it was the most disciplined rush I think I've seen from the 49ers ever. They did not give him lanes. They shrunk that pocket down. They didn't fall for any. There were times where you could see the blocking pattern of the Eagles trying to lead guys to, give Hurts a rushing lane. The Niners were very disciplined. Kept him hemmed in. He ran for less than 30 yards. That's a total win right there. I
was surprised I didn't see a lot of Chase Young tonight or today.
He was out there. He almost got home once.
Yeah.
He brought Hurts down once. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm old Greg says Nick Wright is trash. Thank you.
Can I share the screen real quick? I want to Rye good snipe here finding this. Just a scouting report on the guy.
Senior advisor.
Can you tell us a little bit about? Can you tell us about Dom DeSandro?
This should have been part of your preview video. And they got Dom DeSandro on the line.
Hey, and if they're looking for some extra help on the sideline, Big Dom DeSandro is in the house. And Dom, let me tell you, this guy's leading the league in special teams cheap shots.
And
Dom
also
DeSandro.
All-pro
cheesesteaks.
senior advisor to the general manager.
Paid in
It's like-
cheesesteaks.
That's like Dwight Schrute. Like what?
He's an assistant to the GM. He's in the front office
He's a chief security officer. Is his
He's
25th
advisor
season?
to general manager
security.
Of
Dude,
security.
Dad, this guy's a vet. It's his 25th season.
This guy looks like he might have played ball.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Dom DeSandro,
I like the white
6'3".
walls.
I like how it says provides education on the NFL's personal conduct policy. He definitely broke that tonight, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Dom DeSandro, 6'1",
I think you
275,
should-
graduate of
take
Philadelphia
provides out and
Junior
put
High.
needs. Maybe subtract, add needs instead of provides. But, I mean, I'll say this. The one thing that was, if you had said to me last night, we're going to see the Niners score on 6 consecutive drives, I would never have thought that would have been the case. But that's what we saw. The Niners offense, they looked like they couldn't get any rhythm early, and they didn't. But once the things settled in, the Niner weapons and Purdy took control, and it looked very rhythmic. Like it made it look. This win made it look like if these teams played again, the Niners would win. I think it was what was on the line today. I mean, really nothing other than maybe the mental edge in the rematch. And it was going to go to either team if they got a decisive win, right? It was on 23-20 and last second turnover and a wet field or whatever. That wouldn't have necessarily have given anybody some mandate. But if either side blew the other side out, then it's like, okay, wait a second. This team's better than that team. And I think everybody who watched that today leaves thinking the 49ers are better than the Eagles. I mean, don't you? I mean, they was in their place. Now, granted, the rest advantage, how much? I guess let me ask you this, guys, how much were the 49ers advantages going to be driven out tomorrow in the media as why the Eagles lost this game, as opposed to just giving Purdy, Shanahan, and the 49ers their full bouquet of flowers and just say, hey, you know what? This is the best team. When everybody's playing their best, this is the NFL's best team. Is that going to be the narrative tomorrow, or is it going to be about all these disadvantages that the Eagles didn't have or had?
I think the majority will say that the Niners are the best team, we're the better team. There'll be a couple of guys like Nick Wright and Skip and those guys that'll say, hey, the schedule makers didn't do the Eagles any favors. A couple of guys.
To be fair, they had Gonzaga's schedule last year. Like they just didn't play anybody last year. So.
The Eagles last year?
Yeah.
Bazzy Mion says, I told you this, Larry. We blow out every good team when fully healthy, not when we have a lead, like what Chase Sr. said the other day. Okay. All right. I hear you. This one from RG Teamster. The Greenlaw penalty should have been offsetting.
It's just like, but what's the other penalty on Big Dom?
On the bench.
And that seriously, is Big Dom going to have to pay the same kind of fine that Greenlaw has to pay? It's like sets his family back like decades. They were both fined $150,000. They took it out of they took it out of Greenlaw's next check, and Dom will be working for free for the next 2.5 years.
Did they actually say? I mean, they gave the penalty for the hit. The Greenlaw picked him up, and then they tossed him because he touched Dom's
contact with Big Dom.
That's why. So,
Danny, you don't put your finger in the face of Big Dom without paying a penalty.
Yeah, Big Dom. Yeah, he holds a lot of clout there. I just, to me, that's where the officials have to look things over clearly with the objective and say, okay, we gave a penalty, but this guy instigated it, and everybody knows you're not supposed to touch players. I mean, even when coaches touch players, they get a penalty.
I mean, what are we talking about here? Mike Curtis in an NFL Films video, the old mad dog Mike Curtis, a fan ran on the field and grabbed the football, and he ran the fan down, threw him to the ground, and took the football back and was like, "That's my football." There was far more damage there than Greenlaw did to this fan. You can't.
Yeah, how about Angel Pagan taking that guy and body slamming him out in left field at the Dodger Stadium?
Right. I mean, if Greenlaw had crushed this guy, dropped him with a right, but just kind of pointing in his general direction, and you're going to eject one of the best. What if this had been Super Bowl Sunday? I mean, this is, come on, man. A game of this magnitude, you're going to kick out an all-pro linebacker because of Dom whatever from security? I mean, you got to be kidding me. I mean, the absurdity of the whole thing. Green Glass Full says Brock, the humble warrior, and Deebo stepped up. Yeah, no doubt. G-Code Travels Vlog. Great to see Kalia Davis in. Great to see Kinlaw with a sack and Womack solid on special teams. Forget solid. How about Womack fighting off the block all the way down the field? Boom. Solo tackle. He just looks like he's just after it.
The Niners needed that too, because once George Odom left, and George Odom's an all-pro special teamer, and Womack's he's taking that role.
He's awesome. Feels like every week Womack, when he's playing, makes a play on special teams, whether he's down in a ball at the 2 or, lighting up a punt returner on impact.
Look at him and Luter the last couple of weeks. Last week, Luter buried Eskridge and saved the touchdown, and they never got that touchdown. They kicked a field goal. Both those guys have just been incredible on the coverage units.
By the way, Chiefs are just down 14-3 to the Packers.
You know what? I was going to bet the Chiefs, and I'm like, you know what? This spread is too weird. I got to stay away here.
I told you.
Yeah, Kev said stay away. My
insider.
My insider over there. He's big over at Mojo Fantasy. He's got all the gear.
I will say, my buddy was asking me, he's like, "Can you cook me up a player prop thing for today?" And I'm like, "Put in Deebo." I just feel like Deebo has these games. In the big games, he gets physical. When the Niners get physical, they go to Deebo, and Deebo just gets touchdowns.
San Luis Obispo Kevin says go with Deebo.
I was right.
There you go. You were right. That was a good recommendation. Well, he talked a big game. He knew he was going to back it up. Stephen Larder says, one aside, will Greenlaw ever get his head out of his with these penalties? He's aggressive, I think is what you're trying to say. I think what you really mean is that he's aggressive.
I actually thought he's cleaned it up compared to last year. I feel like
the Chicago game.
Yeah.
And speaking of Deebo, are we getting to that time of year where Deebo in 21, when he just, like you said, he got physical, big games. Every game toward the end of the season was big. Now we've got, let's see, they're 9-3, so they got 5 games left. I think if they run the table, toughest game's probably going to be Baltimore, and then that Ram game could be tough at the end of the season if the Rams' playoff chances are on the line. But if they can run the table, I do think Dallas or Philly loses one more. I think Dallas beats them in Dallas next week.
Wouldn't that be something? But then the Niners still got to beat the Ravens on Christmas night, and the Ravens. That's going to be a very tough game. Ready, Set, Rush says Purdy started 0 for 4 the first 2 drives, then went 19 of 23. Every possession after that. Today was a full team effort and such a great game. Yeah, that I didn't even realize it panned out that way. Yeah, 0 for 3 to start, and then 19 of 23. He was just locked in.
Yeah, he was another, what was he, 69, 70% right there again today.
70% and 4 touchdowns.
He's just, if you said, hey, what do you want to, if your quarterback can complete 7 out of every 10 passes and he doesn't turn the ball over and he gets you 2 to 3, maybe even 4 TDs, would you say that's an MVP type quarterback? And
I'll say this: if that was an MVP type performance, simply from the standpoint of look at where he did it. That's as far as hostile, loud, aggravating places to play, it's got to be Philadelphia. And they've got a tremendously talented football team. And there's a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure on this game.
And so much of
He played nearly flawless.
Yeah, so much of the MVP talk comes from the game announcers, and they weren't playing that up. I hardly heard any of it. Even the Fox crew afterwards, they said, well, it's kind of like he's in it, yeah. But nobody's talking like, hey, this is the MVP. You look at his stats.
There's a lot. You know what? It's wide open. There's lots of candidates,
right? But
and there's let's
put him up there. Let's put him up there and say, hey, he should be in the conversation. You can't have an MVP conversation without Brock Purdy. You just can't. He's like Kev read. How many stats was he number one in? Like 5.
Yeah.
What are the touchdowns to interceptions right now? Where does it stand right now for Purdy with today's 4? Didn't he have 19? So he's got 23 and 6, something like that.
19 and 6, or does that not count today?
Doesn't count today.
4
so
today.
23 and 6.
23 and 6. 23 touchdowns, 6 picks. He's on pace for almost a 40 touchdown season.
Where's he at? About 3,400 yards right now. Where's he?
He's on pace for over 4,000, close to 4,500.
He's got to be close.
Yeah, 300 plus yards today. And to me, it's not even about the stats. It's more about he handled this environment and kept his cool, kept his calm. He looked very calm. He didn't look rushed. He didn't look frazzled. When things didn't go well early, he didn't just pack it in. You know what I mean? The guy
Here's another one for why he should be MVP. He has 4 of the 8 highest passer rating games of 2023. 4 of the top 8. So it's like,
wow,
he's just dominating like in comparison to some of these guys.
Jesse Wade says Niners 84, Cowboys, Eagles 29, Brock 8 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah, 2 Heisman moments right there.
Calba says punt, touchdown, 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 touchdown. Crybaby Sirianni.
0 Moody in this game.
Seriously, he was a non-factor. Lifted Mike. Can we talk about Demo's hit? I know, seriously. Let's go back to the Demo hit. I mean, just a monster hit. It was 2nd and 9 from the Niner 31-yard line. The Niners had just the Eagles had just had the penalty on the false start by Kelsey. And it was 2nd and 9 from the 34, and he goes to DeAndre Swift, and Lenore just smokes DeAndre Swift.
That's what you want to leave him with, though. That's
just a monster hit.
That's a hit that's a type of hit that shows if we meet again, we're here. We ain't joking around. We're here to play smash mouth football. And those type of hits, man, when you get hit like that, and I've been hit like that in a game, it doesn't feel good. Like, man, I'm gonna get up and kick his butt. No, you're kind of walking around like, dang.
I mean, not only that, it was a great way to finish this thing off, right? Because it was another long extended drive, and 2nd and 9, Demo gets the monster hit. 3rd and 9, Kalia Davis sacks Hurts. And Kalia Davis, it was great to see him out there. And the fact that they dusted him off for this game, I think tells you that they think really highly of Kalia Davis. I mean, think about it. You haven't seen this guy play at all. You get into this game, and suddenly it's like, let's activate Kalia Davis. That's definitely going to be worth discussing this week, is why they chose to do that. And it also sends a message like they really think Kalia Davis has some special traits and that they want to get him on the field in some of the biggest moments. So that was another thing that kind of a discussion point item that will be fleshed out this week is, Kalia is 6'1", 320 pounds and fast. And, very, very productive college football player. So to see them dust off some of these young guys like Womack, like Luter, like Kalia Davis, like Ambry, here as this season has progressed has been really, really cool. So Lenore gets to play on 2nd and 9. Kalia makes the play on 3rd and 9. And then on 4th and 12, Hurts goes to Devontae Smith, and Ambry Thomas has this beautiful pass breakup. So those three guys kind of finished it off. Lenore, Kalia, and Ambry, and kind of a fitting end that a lot of the Niner young players are starting to come of age.
And it was against the Eagles once because Sirianni left in all his starters. Jalen Hurts, who had just gotten evaluated for a concussion. We know his knee isn't. If that was Kyle Shanahan leaving in the starters, and your team is down 42-19, he would have been criticized endlessly. But hey, Sirianni, let some of his starters get popped a few more times, including that big hit by Demo on Swift. But in addition to that hit, fellas, these Niners DBs, this is the best tackling cornerback unit in the NFL. I'm watching teams around the league. Not all the corners are willing to stick their nose in there and play the run and get physical. But, Demo, Charvarius, Ambry, all these corners mix it up and stick their nose in there and get physical.
Yeah, it was good to see an ex-Niner today, Jimmy Ward, get the game-winning pick in the end zone against Denver. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. In fact, I was rooting for a touchdown there because I would have needed the over.
Oh,
okay. And I'm like, Jimmy Ward interception. I'm like, hasn't Jimmy Ward been hurt all year? That's amazing. By the way, the Niners did not put in a claim on Zach Ertz.
Ooh.
And nobody put in a claim on Zach Ertz.
Free agent.
He is a free agent. If you're Zach Ertz, after watching that, I mean, if you really want a ring, wouldn't you come home and play for the Niners?
Stanford connection.
I mean,
McCaffrey.
If you're Zach Ertz and you really are about getting a ring, where do you think? And you can get Baltimore. I mean, we'll just lay it out there the way it actually is. You're Zach Ertz. The Eagles are on line 1. The Ravens are on line 2.
Yep.
The 49ers are on line 3. The Chiefs are on line 4. The Bills are on line 5. And whose call do you want to take? Where do you want to go? If you're Zach Ertz, where would you go? I would come here. He's from Monte Vista. That's in Danville. Last I checked, Danville's here. And he got it. He probably grew up rooting for the Niners, right? He went to Monte Vista. He played at Stanford.
Yeah.
He's already played for Philly, and he won the ring there, right? Didn't he win a ring there?
Yep.
Yeah, so he's got his ring. He's got his ring in Philly. And but here's the thing. I mean, Andrews is gone in Baltimore. If I was Baltimore, I would be very aggressive to get Ertz. Okay.
Yeah.
But then there's talk that Kansas City wants to pair him with Kelsey so they can go more 2 tight ends and have less wide receivers on the field. So they have a real.
Kyle's always wanted a 2 tight end set with a second receiver.
I mean, he'd be replacing Dwelly. You'd still have Warner and Kittle. You still have Braden Willis for the future. You still got Cam Latu down the road. But I think Ertz, it would not just be kind of an okay pickup. I think that could be like the piece that gets you over the top. Remember how good the Niner double tight end looked in 2020 when they had Jordan Reed and Kittle? And then Jordan Reed quickly went down, but Jordan Reed was a tremendous receiver, and it looked really exciting early on, if you remember. And then Jordan Reed got hurt. But if you could get Ertz to play a couple of big games, that could be the difference between getting over the top and not. If I were the Niners, I would definitely try to, whatever connections Lynch has, whatever connections they have to anybody at Monte Vista. I mean, I would try to get the message out to Ertz, because I think if you could add Ertz to what you got right now, I think that would be an upgrade. I think that would help them win the ring.
The only question is, does Ertz want to be the tight end of the team that's winning the Super Bowl, or does he want to be the second tight end? Because he could go to Baltimore and be.
I think Baltimore. I think likely still plays a lot at Baltimore, because Ertz is not. I don't know how much better he is than Likely. It's okay. He's right there, but I can't see Baltimore saying, okay, Ertz is number one and likely he's on the bench.
Yeah.
Ertz
But
is long in the tooth, fellas. I think you guys think Ertz is better at this point than I do. I mean, he's averaging 6.9 yards a catch. He's even back in the day when he was catching 80+ balls, he wasn't very explosive. He's not a very good blocker. Like I'm cool off Ertz.
you
I
don't
think
need
he's
Ertz.
just. I think he's just. He just changes the offense to go.
I'm
double,
more
two
interested-
tight end set for.
I'd be
safety.
more interested in at this point in just the gamesmanship of it, as far as the block. Right? It's not necessarily what he's going to do for you. It's what having him not be in Philly, Baltimore, or Kansas City could do for, not having him help them. And if you could get him and it doesn't cost you anything, I would do it. But I hear you, Baller. He's not the kind of player that you just go, you know what? They've got Ertz. They can, they're set. Couple more here. Wait, Brute. Did I skip anybody here? Wait a second. I think I missed a couple here. Here, wait, hold on a second. I did miss. Okay, I had this one. Hunter. Thank you, Hunter. And this one from Hunter. He says, how do you feel about the rest of the Bird Gauntlet? So what do they got? They got the Seahawks next, and then after the Seahawks, who's after the Seahawks?
Ravens and Cardinals.
Is it
Cardinals
Dallas?
and
I thought
Ravens.
it was Dallas. Am I tripping?
No, they already played Dallas.
Yeah, it's Seahawks, then Cardinals, and then Ravens.
I feel good, though. The Cardinals are playing hard. That will not be an easy game.
No,
And
they play
the Ravens.
They play the Cowboys next.
Oh,
The
Eagles
Niners?
do. Eagles do.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Niners Bird
We're
Gauntlet.
talking about the Niners Bird Gauntlet.
Oh, I thought he was talking about the bird, like the Eagles gauntlet. Okay, never mind.
Oh, yeah. There's two different gauntlets.
Well, the Eagles are going through their own gauntlet. I hope that, what's Hurts? I mean, Hurts finished this game, so he'll be there next week for Dallas. I just think Philly is gone through a really physical, tough part of their schedule, and they're just dragging a little bit. And I think some of the flaws of they're not the same team as last year. I mean, the guy Blankenship is not nearly as good as C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I mean, C.J. Gardner-Johnson was a force, and I just don't think they're as good in the middle of the field. Losing Hargrave definitely hurts, even though Jalen, the Niners did a great job on Jalen Carter. I didn't hear Jalen Carter's name called too much tonight. Did you guys?
Beginning of the game.
Just when he got his 15-yard penalty.
Yeah,
Hassan Reddick made a couple nice plays. But
he did. How do we, Hunter says, how do we feel about okay, then we got that one. Mark Graves in the house says, member for 17 months. If the 49ers stay healthy and have no turnovers, nobody is beating this team Super Bowl bound. Wow. In Las Vegas. Wouldn't that be something? Stephen Larter says, Purdy is that dude. Can I get an amen? Amen.
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 But somebody right now is probably tweeting, nice win, but he is not him.
Oh, you know what's going to happen. You're going to hear guys say, how is Brock Purdy responsible for Deebo Samuel catching a short pass and running it 50 yards for a touchdown?
It's Shanahan. I'll tell you, it's Shanahan. MF says, Sirianni is a clown. Go Niners. Yeah, Sirianni is a clown. I'm so glad to see Sirianni lose. James T. Kirk says, just want a big shout out to you, Larry. Thanks so much for all the great reporting this week. Cheers. Another victory awaits. James T. Kirk. Thank you, sir.
We should do a poll. Who's more of a clown, Dom or Sirianni?
Oh, Sirianni.
Sirianni.
I'm gonna do a poll. Let's do a poll.
I almost feel a little bad for Dom. Like, just a little bit. Like, he was so red when the camera was just pointing at him. Imagine, like, you're like going to work. This is like the game of the year, like matchup, Niners Eagles. It's the big Fox game of the week. And then there was like a good solid, minute and 10 seconds that would just, the camera was just pan to him. He's getting all red.
He's going to have a GoFundMe page. They're going to develop some GoFundMe page. The guys will make $100,000 off this. You watch.
I know why. Yeah, exactly. The guy's going to be like some cult following.
They kept saying that in the broadcast. Like, this guy is gonna be the most famous guy in Philadelphia.
Yeah, great.
It's like, oh,
Dom's cheesesteaks.
Here we go.
It's coming.
He's gonna have a commercial.
I'm going to share the screen
Cakes.
on this guy. Yeah, everybody, look at this guy.
Oh God.
This guy, everybody.
He's so Philly it hurts.
Can I make it even bigger? How do I double click it? God, look at that. Look at this guy. Just a clown. Mugging for the camera. Look at that. That guy. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. What else we got here? James T. Kirk, thank you. Bruce with the super sticker. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate you, brother. Bruce also dropping the $1.99. Thank you, Bruce. Looks like that's going over to Baller. Baller, a little donation to Baller. Thank you. And by the way, everybody join Baller's channel. Bay Area Baller 18 does great content over there. Tell people about your channel, Baller.
Hey, we're going live tomorrow night. It's the Straight Out of the Bay crew. We're going live a few times a week, talking ball, mixing in some Warriors. Yeah, check me out, Bay Area Baller 18.
There you go. Douglas Mike says 49er touchdown after Greenlaw ejection was the game. Yeah, that was the icer right there. That was the, you know what? Oh, you think you're coming back? No, you will not be coming back. Matthew Sanders says $2. Often did you try unplugging and unplugging it back in? Not sure exactly what that's in relation to. But thank you. Bruce R. says Eagles bring Hurts back in after he went to the locker room. Shows that they don't believe. Or maybe they always love to send messages of toughness. He came back out and led them anyway. Dazza says, why can't Deebo play like this more consistently? It's a great question. He plays with such physicality. He beats up his body. Mark T. Enberg says Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown is the closest thing there is to free money in betting.
Seriously.
Right up there with Kevin Kruger anytime his unmade bet. Yeah, the anytime unmade.
What is the line on that? Like minus 250?
The anytime unmade
at
bet.
least.
There you go. It's very
Anytime
witty there,
unmade
Mark. We got this one from Gizmo Maltese. Love seeing both Deebo and CMC in the backfield. Yeah, absolutely. That was a nice wrinkle. Dazza says secondary today played well. Ambry has stepped up the last couple of games. That to me was my big takeaway. I know the D line is going to get some credit. They deserve some. Warner and the linebackers look good. But man, the Niner coverage in this game was outstanding. I think it's
shout out to Jair Brown. Jair Brown, I thought, led the team in tackles. He was flying around all over the place. I know he missed one kind of at a crucial time. I think it was like a quick pass. The Eagles ended up getting a first down.
Yeah.
But Jair Brown, I thought he's filled in admirably for Hufanga.
The moment's not too big for that kid for sure. For sure. Beat LA Durham 20. What do you make of Chase Young not getting many snaps? Gregory played well, got some pressures, but didn't finish. I didn't see all the snap count.
How much does Gregory play? He was such a huge training or a huge trade, and I haven't heard his name very much.
I thought he was out there.
He missed one big play today.
Chase, I saw him out there, but
yeah, as far as total snaps, I really don't know. That maybe he got dinged. I'd have to look at that snap count and see. You're so caught up in the game, you're not doing a who's playing how many snaps, especially with the Niners, because it's not like they rotate them in any kind of trusted pattern. It's like very, very inconsistent.
Also, it wouldn't surprise me if they gave him a little more rest because he was with Washington, who's got their bye week next week. So he not getting a bye all year long. You got to give him a little bit of a chance to get his body right.
It's a good point, Dan.
It's a very good insight by Dan Coach Emilio. And that Danny's coming from Arizona. He is the czar of NorCal Sports Network. Nothing happens at NorCal Sports Network without Danny's knowledge and signing off on it. So it's a little bit smaller of a network. You've heard of Fox. You've heard of ESPN. This This is a little bit smaller network than that. but
Although we
Danny's
are
still-
talking a little merger possibly coming up with an unknown network that we, it's a
there
big
could
one.
be a merger, which was very good for the ABA back in the
Yep.
day. So
Yep.
just remember that.
Yep, that's right.
There could be a
Can you imagine?
merger.
Fox Sports merges with NorCal Sports Network.
It's amazing. ESPN is now ESPN
Fox Rental Car
slash.
and Fox Rental Car and NorCal Sports have merged.
Just to be
Danny's-
called NorCal Sports.
Danny's got like some uncomfortable bit on like every Sports Center episode.
Oh man.
Yeah, Stanford Steve and SVP and Danny making picks before the games. Okay, let's see. Here we
You got
go.
to join NorCal Sports. We're really close to 1,000 subs. Everybody go over to NorCal Sports. We'll be on tonight, by the way. Look at this thumbnail that Eric put together. Look at that.
It's a beautiful
49ers pummel the
Ohtani.
Eagles. Ohtani Yamamoto bound for San Francisco. Yeah. So we'll be on tonight.
Do you
at
have
8:30.
sources? Do you have sources? Are you wait a second? Are you breaking that right now on the Krug show?
Slusser put out something today saying that there was a lot of buzz about Yamamoto.
Oh yeah. Did you
I
see
thought
my
Danny
reply?
wasn't
You
happy
see my
about
reply
that.
to her?
Yeah, I saw that.
What did Danny reply? What did he reply?
I said
Bullshit.
Seems to me use that word buzz last year, and I put her tweet up last year with Aaron Judge. There's buzz around the room that Aaron Judge is coming to the Giants.
Oh, you didn't, Danny. You're
did.
very confrontational.
Me and Susan,
It would make me more comfortable if you were just a little bit nicer, kind of like me.
Yes,
All right.
yeah.
Or maybe even nicer than that. Daza says, is it possible to rest Trent Williams, CMC, and Armstead the last two games of the season? We shouldn't need those three to beat Washington or Arizona, and the playoffs are more important.
I don't know.
It doesn't seem like anybody's getting too much rest.
Any
Shanahan
given
say you can rest-
Sunday.
Let's not forget that the Niners lost 3 in a row without Deebo and Trent Williams.
Yeah, seriously. Ryan says Purdy's passer rating for tonight's game was 148.2. Not too shabby.
158 is perfect, right?
I think, is it 158?
0.3.
Jeff Taylor says in Baltimore, is Baltimore the Niners' biggest remaining threat? No doubt.
Yeah.
It's the Ravens because they've got the number one run D and they got the number one D. They get the number one run O, I think, and the number one D. So they can run the hell out of it. Lamar's a big part of that. And then they get a great defense.
They also just beat the shit out of all NFC teams.
But I will say this. The one thing about the Ravens, I think, is there's a lot of home cooking there. They're really good in their place. And this game will be at Levi's. And we will be in a Christmas afterglow. So who knows? There'll be a lot of drunk fans there. There'll be a lot of people with smiles on their faces. And if the Niners get up big, that could be a big Niner party. It's really going to be about how well does your team travel, kind of, you know what I mean? How well do you travel in the middle of the holidays? Because it's Christmas night.
We need a bunch of Santa costumes. It would look, because it kind of matches the Niner. Like, that would be sick if it was just a sea of Santas.
You could be in charge of getting that going.
Yeah.
Get that going. Get that going in the parking lot. Chris says, I get why Hurts is an MVP candidate. After today, maybe he's not. To me, Purdy is playing better. Yeah, I mean, if it was just Hurts or Purdy, I think you'd have to go with Brock, right? At this point. Or is that am I looking at things through the Brock Purdy eyes? And I mean, who would you guys right now, if you're voting today, who would get your vote?
Right now?
Yeah, for the MVP.
Well, on our Warriors post game, I crunched the numbers and I ended up going, I think Purdy, I think I'd probably vote for Purdy. Yeah. Or maybe Tyreek Hill, honestly.
It's Brock freaking Purdy. Brock Purdy's playing at an elite level.
Got the numbers.
It's like I said earlier, it's going to be the quarterback that comes out of the NFC. in my opinion. That's going to be the MVP. That's how I see it shaking out.
I agree with Baller.
Jared Goff.
Purdy, yeah, Jared Goff. Purdy was going down that road, and then he lost 3 in a row, and that totally tanked his stock. And I think it's coming back. And I think Baller's right. If the Niners end up at the top of the NFC and Purdy's still first in every single category, I just don't see how you can't give it to him or CMC, to be honest, from the Niners. Both incredible seasons.
I'm worried they're going to split votes.
Jeff Taylor jumps in. He says, how confident are you about the 49ers coming back to Philly and doing this again in the playoffs? I just think Philly is looking tired right now. Now, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see that. It's a lot of football between now and then. And how you handle your schedule and how much you can stay healthy, it's literally a war of attrition. But the Niners know they can go there, and they're going to go there with swagger. And that's the difference. I think is that the 40, it depends how much momentum you can generate. I think, one thing Shanahan's talked about is as the season goes on and the guys get more and more tired, you try to give them as much rest as possible. So they're really not doing tons outside of the games themselves. And you're going through more and more mental reps and fewer physical reps, and you're trying to get the guys off their feet as much as possible. But that's really what it comes down to. That's why people battle like crazy in the NFL for that 1 seed, because the bye means tons. If you can get off your feet for a week, you freshen up your football team, you're focused, then you only have to win 2 games then to go to the Super Bowl. You're going to be at home. There's so much advantage in getting that 1 seed. So, but I think the Niners needed this one. They either needed to win this or lose a close one. They just couldn't get drubbed. They got drubbed. I think there's a mental, like the Niners have a mental edge, I think, on Philly right now. I don't think, they could have had that edge if they had gotten drubbed. I don't, you just you're hoping, but you're not really expecting to beat them if you return. Don't you guys think? The blowout was nice, and it kind of gives the Niners some swagger, but I think they can go to Philly and do it again. I absolutely do.
Yeah, I think the not just the score, but the physical domination is what's important, is because that's going to be in the back of Philly's head. I mean, you're going to have Deebo being that physical, and go back into that hit. Even though it was a meaningless hit in terms of the ball game, when Lenore hit, it said something like, you know what? You're going to play the Niners, it's going to be physical. And I'll take the physicality along with Kyle's dialing up the offense to beat anybody.
It is time for our New York style Italian sausage player of the game segment, brought to you by our good friends at New York Style Italian Sausage, the great Pasquale, and of course Mike and Laura and all the good people at New York Style Italian Sausage. It wouldn't be a Krug show without an appearance from the great Pasquale.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means,
yeah. And we grew up with the Sunday dinner. Who is your play or player of the game? Kev, we'll start with you. Who are you giving your player of the game nod to?
I'll stick with my theme of DBs, and I'll give it to Charvarius Ward. I'd give it to Charvarius Ward or Ambry Thomas. I really just think that you can't really see it in the TV copy, but Jalen Hurts had many plays where he was standing there for 1, 2, 3, and there's no movement from the defensive line. And it's just because their offensive line is so dominant, but he had nowhere to throw. And in some of those replays, you could see those guys were draped all over them. And I think that another thing is just they got their heads around and they didn't get called for PIs. And I thought those were good no calls from the refs, because it's one of those things where you can go up and be physical, but you have to play the ball to not get the call. And they played the ball, they got their hands on it, and they dominated. So I'll go either Ambry Thomas or Travarius Ward.
No, you can't go either. You gotta pick
Okay,
one.
I'll go Travarius Ward because he probably was on AJ Brown the most, and he had more PBUs. I'm pretty sure.
All right, Kev, New York style Italian sausage player of the game.
Good-
He's going
good
with
pick,
Mooney
good pick,
or
good-
good pick.
Good pick. Good pick.
Where'd it go, Smithy? Danny, what do you got? Who's your New York style Italian sausage player of the game
All right.
or play of the game?
Well, I'm going to go player of the game. I'm going to give it to Deebo. I would love to take Purdy, but leave that for somebody else because that would have come back there at the place he got hurt and to do what he did. But Deebo was a tone setter today. He was on the kickoff returns, on the sweeps, the breakaways. It was just physical Deebo. It was 2021 Deebo where he was the best player in the NFL. And I'm seeing that Deebo again. It was a big game, and I think we're going to see more of that down the stretch, and loved it. So Deebo Samuel.
Baller, who you going with?
Yeah, that's a good one, Dan. But I'm going with Christian McCaffrey. 17 carries for the 93 yards. He's been looking real explosive these last few games. So and just the fact that he's this safety blanket for Brock Purdy. When you see Purdy kind of going through his reads, he knows right where the check down is in Christian McCaffrey. How about that wheel route he ran today? Right where, he went up the sideline, kind of put a move on the linebacker, went right by him. Purdy put it on the money. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, this kid does it all.
Good pick. Good pick, baller.
Excellent pick. Rye, what do you got?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't want to take Purdy. I want to listen to Larry wax poetic on Purdy. You know what? I'll give you Trent Williams. How about Trent Williams? You just really did, after those first two possessions, you really didn't see much pressure from the edges. I got a little bit scared. I'm not going to lie. Like the beginning of the game when they went like pass, and it started to feel a little bit like the beginning of the NFC Championship game. Like, holy crap, is Reddick going to like get home here and just knock Purdy out of the game again? And you just saw the edge guys for Philly just kind of disappeared. Brock wasn't, he was in a comfortable pocket. Also just running behind him all day was just cheese. McCaffrey looked awesome. That I got to say, baller, love the McCaffrey pick. I feel like that was like the most nimble he's looked. Just sort of like, he's obviously a dog every week, but that was like the most like kind of nimble, quick, like running in between dudes. I don't know. He was awesome. So I'll go Trent.
I knew I was going to go last, and I thought for sure somebody would have gone with Purdy. So I wasn't thinking about going with Purdy. I was going to go a defensive, two young defensive players. One, Jair Brown, who led the Niners in tackles. I mean, this is the biggest game of the year. The kid went to Penn State. He's a rookie. Talking to him in the locker room, like when somebody's so young that they don't know that they should be nervous. He's like kind of in that mode, where he's like, he's so young and so full of confidence that it's like being nervous is like not like, what, nervous? What's that? I right now I'm just having fun and flying around and making plays, and he had 7 tackles, 6 solo. We only had the one missed tackle that I could think of. Maybe there was 2, but I thought he was outstanding. And then Javon Kinlaw, what a huge game for Javon Kinlaw. I mean, these guys know, they listen. I don't care what anybody says. Guys can say they don't. They know what's being said about them in the public discourse. And if they don't hear it firsthand, it gets to them secondhand. He knew people were taking him to task last year and showing all those plays where, Jason Kelsey was, moving him at the line and he couldn't anchor, and people are like, oh, look at Javon, he's getting kicked out of the club and this and that. He came out and he's a guy who takes on blocks and doesn't make a lot of tackles by himself, but he absorbs blockers. But in this game, 4 tackles, 2 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 2 hits on the quarterback, 2 tackles for loss. I mean, Javon was a force, man. He was an absolute force. So I got to say, Kinlaw and Jair Brown both have to get mentioned. But I mean, somebody's got to go with Brock Purdy. So I'll go with Brock Purdy too. I mean, Brock Purdy, come on. The guy was unbelievable. What did we say? We started 0 for 4 and then went 19 of 23 for 314 yards, 4 touchdowns. To me, it's why you take him for granted is that he does things that look easy, but that other quarterbacks don't do consistently, and he does them pretty consistently. I was thinking of that one, I think it was a 3rd down where he threw an out to Juwan Jennings, and it was like the coverage was there, right? I mean, the coverage was really there, but he put it so perfectly that Juwan was able to catch it and in stride, flip around and contest the guy and get the first. And it was like, that was all quarterback right there. You know, if that ball's thrown in any direction where he doesn't get that same momentum, it's an easy tackle for the DB. Instead, he kind of led him perfectly and he got the first down. It's just like Purdy sees the field. He processes well. The ball comes out on time. He's basically pretty accurate. He looked a little fidgety at the beginning of this game, but then to rebound and to make the plays that he did, it was just the guy can operate the offense.
Yeah, and you know what?
For you, but he's not. He knows how to. His ball handling ability in the short and intermediate is really, really good.
And you know what? Someone's going to focus in on the one pass that Blankenship almost picked off. They're going to point out that should have been a pick, but you know what? That was almost that was Ayuk. He just beat Ayuk to the ball. It wasn't a bad pass. It was just, I mean, it was off a little bit, but you watch.
You gotta love that he's getting this game under his belt, because you're right. He looked really nervous and really fidgety on those first 2 drives.
Right.
And I think that coming to this stadium, playing against these fans, he could break down, and he kind of was breaking down, but to get over that hump and to deliver the game he delivered, I think it's a great thing to have under his belt.
Oh yeah. I mean, when people look at the stats and they look at the stats in tomorrow morning and they say 4 touchdown passes, 314 yards passing. Oh, the hit. Oh my goodness. That was just unbelievable.
Here we go. Maybe the play of the game right here. Look at this hit.
That was just, I love that hit so much. And you know what? I don't like to see players go down, but in that instance, I was kind of like, I liked seeing them go down and hurt a little bit. And it's like, yeah, it was just a perfect hit. There was nothing illegal about that. And you knew he wasn't, I don't want to see him hurt for good, but it's like, there's a statement in that. There is a statement in that when you're on a football team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, you heard Warner give the guys the speech on the field. He's like, we have to be the more physical team today. And that's being physical right there. You just said it, Danny. This is textbook, and you can call it cheap, but this is the way football has been played forever. But it was textbook. It wasn't helmet to helmet.
Yeah.
And he wasn't defenseless. He turned around.
Danny's right. These are the best types of hits, because it's like, it's the stingers and the ones that knock the wind out of you, because those are the ones that hurt the most almost, but they don't cause any damage, so you don't have to root against them.
Yep, exactly.
And it's tone setting, and it makes Swift not want to come over the middle anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. You send a message, man. I remember Jack Tatum doing that constantly growing up, and Ronnie Lott, and see, he's turning up field, so you can't even say he was defenseless.
You and maybe the old days they would have said that was a catch and a fumble.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, I've seen that called as a catch, but I mean, that's the brutality of this game right there. And it's a monster hit from Lenore, but it was textbook.
He turned his shoulder. Look what she's turned.
Dan, we need a call on that. A monster hit call.
Oh yeah, that would be.
Yeah, Danny, can you give us a little play-by-play, Danny, on this one?
Play. Okay, let's see.
Here, 1 second. Let me back it up. Back it up.
Okay.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on. here we go. Back it up. Back it up. Here we go. All right, Danny, here we go. As soon as you start seeing it move, we want some good Dan Coach Emilio play-by-play.
Wait. Before we do this, can I just play this? Can you guys hear this? Or no?
No.
Yeah.
What do you got? Play.
Oh, it says we have the Monster Slam audio in StreamYard. So I was trying to play it.
Oh, the Monster Slam from Rye and I's.
Maybe it doesn't work. Oh, wait, no. Is there a volume?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the volume's off. Here, let me play it. There we go.
Again, he kicks it out to Wiggins. Wiggins drives, goes in for a Monster Slam! Oh, no, they're calling it an offensive foul.
So that's just a little reminder before we do this one.
All right, energy level. Okay, here we go. All right. Got it all the way back here.
All right, here we go.
All right, Hurts drops back. See, he throws it to. Oh, that goes too fast. I didn't have a chance.
Danny, get ready for it. It's slow-mo.
Here we go.
Okay, let me start it early.
All right,
let me start it early so I can get the whole play. All right, so here we go. We're going back. All right, so Hurts drops back to pass.
Wait a second. Hold on. Here it comes again. It's going to reboot. Right here we go.
Hurts drops back, hits Swift on the side. Oh, and Monster hit by Lenore, and Swift is down. Down goes Swift.
That's a good call.
That was fire. That's
Down
fire.
goes Swift is hard.
Did you guys see it was it's also is Philadelphia's inaugural Rocky Day today?
No, but I heard
made it a
somebody put
holiday.
some Niner fan put some Rocky, did something with the Rocky statue, put a Niner something on the Rocky statue. Did you hear that?
Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, it was Rocky. It was like some holiday, and this today happened to be the first inaugural Rocky Day. Like Stallone was there, and so just bad.
All right.
Bad luck.
All right, guys. The big thing of the day, of course, is now the Niners have week 5. They beat Dallas 42-10. Week 13, they've beaten the Eagles 42-19. Are the Niners? Is it now, in your mind, Super Bowl or bust in your mind? I mean, we've seen the 49ers take apart the two top contenders in the conference, unless you want to throw Detroit over Dallas, and some people would. I might.
Nothing's changed in my mind. It's always been Super Bowl or bust this year.
You guys agree with Danny? Super Bowl or bust?
I mean, bust is a strong word, but it's looking like that because you have all the weapons, you have Purdy, you have the coach. I mean, it's your year, it's your time to shine. Yeah. So yeah,
have to do it this year because Purdy's got one more year before the contract blows up, and the team, this is the year.
Baller, what do you think?
I'm with Dan. It's been Super Bowl or bust since the jump with this talent, this coach, this timeline. Because fellas, we do got a few crucial players that are getting a bit long in the tooth. Like it's now. This is the time.
I kind of agree. It sounds harsh to say it's Super Bowl or bust, and it makes it seem like you're like some kind of nut. And you don't understand that, you're some petulant child. We must win because we're us and we need to, But there's a time to win. I mean, when the Niners went to the Super Bowl against Kansas City, they were maybe a little bit ahead of their time, right? As far as, the development of Shanahan and Lynch and the roster they'd created. Now, Trent Williams a little bit older and there's some urgency there. I think the 49ers definitely have looked at this year like Super Bowl or bust, and they're peaking and they're playing great ball. Now the question is next week a trap game against Seattle at home?
They can clinch the division, but it is a trap. They can clinch the division like they did early last year by beating Seattle. That's the first goal of any team.
We welcome in the great JD, by the way. I didn't see JD jump in there. JD, good to see you. You're in Philly, right?
I am in Philly. Yeah, good to be with you guys.
What did you? First of all, congratulations on the new gig. For people who don't know, JD is now doing a bunch of different things at KMBR, and we saw the news of the week, and we congratulate you. You're very talented. You deserve every opportunity you get, and I'm sure you probably had duties today on the radio, but Give us your perspective on this one. Obviously, the 49ers get a huge win, 42-19, and a statement win. What was your primary takeaway, JD?
Just an incredible job by the 49er defense, fellas, early in the game, as much as they were getting shredded, and they were getting shredded on those first two Eagles possessions, to be able to get off the field and hold them to field goals. To me, that was the whole game, because the Eagles came out and they didn't have a lot in the tank, but we didn't know that they didn't have a lot in the tank on those first really, 4 series, the 2 offensive and 2 defensive series. And I think they were coming out trying to really jump on the Niners, hope they could build a lead, and basically in the electricity of Lincoln Financial Field, they could ride that to a win and ride that through the fact that they were, gassed from all of the games that they've had to play here recently and the wins that they've been able to accumulate. So for that to be 6-0 when it could have been 14-0, I think that was the game. And then, surprising that Christian McCaffrey didn't touch the football in the first 2 series. I mean, really, the deal for me, it wasn't even, hey, the Niners go 3 and out, the Eagles march down on the field, down the field on them twice. For me, it was the Niners ran 6 plays, and all 6 plays, if you go back, and I'm sure you guys all have this in your, all 6 plays had no chance. All 6 of them were just no chance. I make a little note when I go through the plays. I'll make like a little mark, a play that basically just had no chance for whatever reason. And all 6 of them had no chance to be successful. And so, they put themselves in what could have been a big time hole. It wasn't a big time hole because they were able to get off the field and hold the Eagles to 3 on 2 occasions. And then they got McCaffrey involved. And then Brock Purdy bounced back in a huge way. Brock Purdy, 9 of 11 for 118 on the 2 touchdown drives that the 49ers had before the half to go up 14-6 at the half. And then everything flipped. The Niners did exactly to them what the Eagles did to them in the first quarter and the second quarter. And then they just poured it on in the second half. And just a hell of an effort for the 49ers. Dominant. They've now dominated Dallas and dominated Philly. I think you could look at all of the wins and just, I think they have as good a resume in terms of wins as anybody in the NFL. When you look at the teams that they've been able to beat, even the Steelers could potentially be a playoff team. When the Seahawks are going to be a playoff team that the Niners have beaten. The Cowboys, obviously, Philly. We'll see what happens with the Ravens. So hell of a win. It gives them the inside track for the 1 seed. Their toughest game left is the Ravens on Christmas night. And, to answer the Seattle question here before I kind of kick it back to you guys, there's no way a Seattle game should be a trap game at home. Like, if we want to talk about Arizona or Washington maybe being trap games, I can get that, those games on the road in December. But Seattle's got to be a game where you bounce back and you keep it rolling.
How disconnected are you guys in Philly from the crowd? Is it like Levi's, where we're behind 3.5 inches of glass and you have no feel for for the noise and the crowd? Because this is a game of emotions, and I just felt like when the 49ers answered with that touchdown after the Eagles, it was end of the third quarter. It was 28-13, but when it was 21-13, and then Purdy found Deebo on that 48-yard deal for the touchdown to make it 28-13 instead of 21-13. I thought that play right there, that just felt like a backbreaker. And then, of course, they thought there was a hold on Ronnie Bell against Blankenship, and there may have been one that went uncalled. It sounded like the fans may have booed that on the screen. But what was the vibe in the stadium like, JD? Because to me, that play from Purdy to Deebo for 48 yards to make it 28-13, to me, that's where this game kind of ended.
Yeah, I think that, and I even think it was the play before that. Honestly, I go back to the 3rd down conversion right before the Deebo touchdown in the midst of everything that was going on with
to Ayuk against Slay. That one,
yeah, that to me, I thought that was big time because it's a 1-score game again. Greenlaw had just gotten thrown out with Big Dom, the incident with Big Dom, the security guy, and it's a 1-score game, and the place was lit. And yeah, it's not quite like Levi's. They have the option here to open or close the windows. They kept them closed today. I would always love to have the windows open, regardless of the weather, even if it's a little chilly. Let's get some fresh air in. I want to be able to feel the crowd. They don't do that, or at least they didn't today. Maybe they do it sometime earlier in the season. But I've only been to the link in December and January, so they've had them closed in the 2 times that I've been here. But it was the play. One thing that just quick little just mini tangent. I promise I won't go too far off on it. One thing that stands out about this crowd, as opposed to any other crowd, and I was in Minnesota earlier. I've been in Seattle a few times. I was at the Superdome when the 49ers played that 48-46 game against the Saints in 2019, and that was as incredible an atmosphere as I've ever been in. The one thing about the Eagles fans here, it is almost eerily quiet when they have the ball. I've never been in a stadium where the home crowd just completely cuts it off for the offense to be able to communicate. I mean, it's jarring. It's just, you're like, where am I when the Eagles have the ball? And then it completely changes when the Eagles go on defense, as you would expect. But, I thought that it was just something that stood out. I'm never used to the deadness of when the offensive team has the ball in another team's stadium like it was here. Just noticeable. But yeah, I thought that 3rd down conversion, to bring it back to what you were talking about, was huge, because it was to me, that was the moment where the Eagles could have got the ball right back after Greenlaw was out, 1-score game. That 3rd down conversion was a gut punch. And I think that conversion set up the Deebo play, because I think they were deflated off of not being able to get off the field when the place was going crazy. And I think that was a big time throw from Purdy to get it to Ayuk in that situation.
JD, we're gonna let you jump, because I know you're on the road and everything, but we appreciate you jumping in, and we'll talk to you soon, brother.
You got it, fellas.
There you go, the great JD.
I also gotta jump. I have a
some homework.
Semifinal flag football game that I have to go to.
Let's go.
Wait, it's not like finals. It's final flag football.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Let's go.
Who
you get to win a shirt?
What position?
He's a wide receiver.
Corner. Come on.
Corner. Oh, he's a corner.
That's what I played in high school.
Can you get your girlfriend to come out and watch you, or does she? Is she no?
Maybe for the finals. For the finals, we play in Cal Poly's like actual football stadium.
Do me a favor, Kev. Forget the flags. Just tell them you were inspired by Lenore and just smack somebody. Just knock them flying 5 yards.
Take somebody out and just say, hey, look, make that bed.
Yeah, all the post-game interviews will be on NorCal Sports Network.
There you
streaming.
Go. All right,
there we go. I'll come out and announce. I'll come up and do the play-by-play for the game.
Okay. Dan, of course, Dan will be quickly ushered off campus by campus security.
Hey, who's this old creep? Who's this old creep coming out here?
We welcome in Damon Bruce. Damon, what'd you think of the game, man?
Bruce.
Good to see everybody. My goodness, I'm sorry that I'm going to miss Kevin's flag football game. That's going to be hot action. I thought that was the single most dominant, symbolically, this is who we are, Kyle Shanahan game of the year, of the entire Shanahan run so far. That was big boy football, and but for a first quarter, which the Niners played terribly, and the crowd getting fired up for Dom, the security guard. I mean,
he was a factor. He was a factor.
The Eagles just got their asses kicked in a way that I didn't expect the 49ers or anyone to kick the Eagles' asses, like they just got worked over. I mean, a full-on molly-whopping, curb stomping of the first degree. They were in the game, but for the fact that they were settling for field goals early, and but for that moment, I mean, when it was 6-0, with the Niners playing that poorly, I'm thinking to myself, geez, the Niners are kind of winning this game, because I mean, it could be 14-0, it could be 10-0, and the game feels much different if it's not just 6-0. And then for the Niners to then come out with 6 consecutive touchdown drives to wrap up the game, I can't remember that happening to any team under any circumstances. And this was just it was a statement all the way around. This was big boy, violent, nasty football. Deebo Samuel at the heart of what's got to be one of the most satisfying plane rides the 49ers are going to get all year, guys. They've got all the reason in the world to be thrilled about what they did in Philadelphia. It was dominant, and they will be in the A block and headline every single sports show in the world tomorrow. That's how good they were.
Here's the question. Because Philly seems like they care, their city, their fans, even their team, they have a lot of swagger. And the Niners probably just took that swagger from them. They didn't just go into their house. They went to their house and they destroyed them. They didn't just beat their defense. They went and put 42 and partied against their defense. Purdy wasn't good. He was great. Deebo wasn't good. He was great. And this is behind an offensive line that is not great. But they got it done today.
What a day for the secondary, too.
Great day for the secondary. The coverage was unbelievable. So what does this do to Philly going forward? They get Dallas next week. What's your guys' prediction on the impact of this game on Philly? Does this thing rattle Philly and shake their confidence, and they go on they lose a couple more games and lose the home field in the NFC? Do they bounce back with just a resounding drubbing of the Cowboys next week? What do you guys think is the next chapter for the Eagles starting next week? Because I don't know what to expect from Philly. Like, if you said, what's going to happen, Philly, Dallas? I don't know. I mean, Philly could circle the wagons and destroy Dallas, but I get the feeling that they could have lost a little bit of their swagger, and Dallas maybe puts one on them. What do you guys think?
I think this fires up Dallas because Dallas has been resting since, they played Thursday night. So the Eagles got back-to-back opponents with 10 days rest. It's a home game. It's a division game. It's a one-game separation between the two. I think Dallas comes out. Dallas hasn't lost at home. I do think this physicality of today's game does leave the Eagles a little sore. Especially Swift and a few other guys, but I think Dallas is going to take it to them. I think it's going to affect. They're going to be up. Eagles. It's a big game for them, but I think Dallas has more of the momentum. I'll say.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to drop this next game to the Cowboys. I mean, it feels like they should have lost a few the last 2 or 3 games. They're down at half. The Jalen Hurts is under duress. So the Eagles are definitely going to drop a game here and kind of open the door for the Niners to get that bye in the NFC.
I think that it's the perfect opponent for the Eagles. They might have gotten the starch knocked out of them a little bit tonight. I don't think any of that matters when you kick off against Dallas. That is a massive rivalry, big division game. It's the right opponent for them to get to circle the wagons if that's what they're looking to do. I don't think this game has much of a bearing. I don't think there's momentum in between games. I really don't. They all happen in their own little vacuums. And the Eagles will be very happy to get out of this vacuum because they got their asses kicked in this vacuum of this game today. I'm not even going to say that this game is a predictor of what might happen when the two of these teams meet in the postseason, if that's what's going to happen. But what we did get today was that the Niners, with a little bit of luck and 5 more football games that they got to get through as healthy as possible, they will have as much of a puncher's chance to win a Super Bowl as any team in this league will be able to make. When it comes time to stack up resumes and what did you do? What did your wins look like? What did your point differential look like? And how much talent do you got? And how healthy are you? I think the Niners are going to be in pole position of the Super Bowl favorite from here on out. I don't think they're going to be anything other than favored in a single game that they will play in, including the Super Bowl. Should they be able to make it there? And I don't care who. I think they'd be favored over the Chiefs, the Ravens right now. I think they'd be favored over the Jaguars. I think they'd be favored over anybody. I think the Niners have, but for a week, laid claim to this is the best football team in this league, and that's what happened today. We'll see if Philadelphia doesn't trip in Dallas. Look, Philadelphia is a lot better than what they were today. Maybe the Niners are just that good.
Listen to what Shanahan said after the game on this one. This is kind of interesting. This is about the whole thing with Greenlaw and the guy on the sidelines. See if we can play this. Here we go.
Scott, what did you see the incident on their sideline that led to the Dre Greenlaw ejection? And did you object at all to the fact that it was a non-player, non-coach involved from there?
Oh, yeah. That's why I tried my hardest not to lose my mind. Hopefully I didn't embarrass myself too bad. But yeah, once I didn't get to see it all from where I'm at, but when I start hearing people explain it to me and stuff, and I just can't believe someone not involved in a football game can taunt our players like that and put their hands in our guys' face. And from what I was told, Dre did it back to him, and I was told that he kind of mashed him in the face a little bit, so he got ejected. But it was a very frustrating play. I got to watch it to have a true opinion on it, but I loved how we rallied after it. Yeah, he was awesome. He wasn't a fan of what happened on the play either, and he handled it with total class, and it was real cool.
So there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's like we can't have guys that aren't involved in the game. We're not talking about players or coaches, just random guys putting their hands on the players. I mean, just come on. I mean, it's like,
Larry, I've never seen anything like it. What the hell is going on there? Why are his feet on the chalk of the sideline? If you're
right, well, we already talked about this, Damon. About there's way too many people on these NFL sidelines. It's like it's become like a little like, hey, it's like you want a backstage pass, and it's like get all non-essential people off the field, especially if you're just going to have random, security people out there.
Well, here's the thing. I can understand why security would have to be part of your sideline protocols, but who's he securing? You're protecting this team from the crowd. You're not the body man of Sirianni. It's not like the 49ers are going to come across the field and start attacking Philadelphia Eagles randomly. Security means you're protecting this team from the environment, and your back should be to the field watching the crowd and the yahoos and the drunk people. Why are your feet on the chalk of the sideline? Why would your hand ever reach out and touch a player? I mean, I don't want anybody to lose their job, but Dom should be suspended, that fat son of a bitch. He shouldn't be allowed on the sidelines anymore. That's ridiculous.
I mean, it really is. It really is. I mean, the idea that you could, it's bad. Like you see it sometimes, like in basketball, like a great player gets ejected for fighting with a scrub. And it's like, well, advantage scrub, you just got the best player in the game kicked out of the game. That's kind of like what we saw here. I mean, Dom, the security guy, and Dre Greenlaw were the two people kicked out of this game. Who did that favor?
Do you realize? Thank God the Niners.
Could you imagine if that was a Super Bowl and they came back?
Thank God the Niners won this game, or else Dom would be they'd be lighting candles to him in Philadelphia. They'd be naming restaurants after him. Like he'll get mentioned tomorrow, but he's not going to be their human rally monkey for the rest of their year. And thank God the Niners won, just so we don't have to listen to the Dom hype.
That's right, Dom. What do you think, Damon? What does this do to the Eagles? Do they fall apart? Because I mean, they do have an injury to Hurts here. They are a little bit dinged up. Goddard probably will be back maybe as soon as next week. He's coming back,
and they need that because no tight end for the Eagles even caught a ball today.
No, Albert O dropped that one. It was really a well-thrown ball. He just dropped it. So, I mean, they don't have a lot of depth there. It'll be interesting to see if they get Ertz. That'll be the other interesting angle in this thing because, they would love to have Ertz as well. What do you guys think overall as far as, Philly's weapons in this game and how the Niners defended them? I mean, Devontae had a big game. A.J. Brown had a big game. For the most part, though, I kind of feel, even though those guys had big numbers, if you're just going off the box score, you would say, oh, man, must have been a rough day for Lenore and Ambry and Mooney. And I think just kind of the opposite. Those guys did have good numbers, but I thought the Niner DBs really played well in this game.
Agreed. Yeah,
definitely.
They handled their way. I mean, I got a little bit nervous. Like, AJ Brown's, he was on that absolute heater. Holy crap. I don't know if you guys are watching this game, but Jordan Love just completed an absolute prayer. Wow. 4th down. Jesus. AJ Brown was on an absolute heater there for a bit, and then he's really cooled off. And it felt like at the beginning of this game, like, oh no, are we in for the AJ Brown game? And then Devontae Smith looked great, just marching up and down the field. I mean, yeah, I don't know. If you look after, like, if you play fantasy football, like, Jalen Hurts had a great game for you. Like, his numbers at the end of the game looked pretty good. He got the rushing touchdown. But no, I mean, I wasn't too concerned about the Philly offense all day. Also, I was thinking in terms of, like, windows, if they're going to take the tush push out next year, like, this actually might be Philly's, like, ultimate Super Bowl or bust year.
I think that, it's funny that, somebody was asking me about that earlier today, the tush push and it being Goodell taking it out. I think he's taking it out for 3 reasons. I mean, I think 1, it's definitely puts the quarterback in a helmet-to-helmet situation, right? 2, I just think that it's one of those things where it's it kind of puts the referees in a tough situation, because what it really becomes is it becomes like an absolute play that that like you're the refs, as far as when they blow the whistle, when was the play halted, is always going to be up for debate, which is a really dicey thing, right? When did the whistle blow on this video? And then also, I think that because they're being successful with it, it's terrible television. Well, the Packers just scored a touchdown, amazing catch. But I mean,
Watson,
it's terrible.
Nice catch.
It's terrible television. If anybody ever got good enough at that, where they were getting 3 or 4 yards, and they're on the verge of that, you could technically no huddle and do that all the time, and it's a bad play. You can't see it. It doesn't televise well. It doesn't celebrate the athleticism of the game. It celebrates just like brute force and mass, and it just seems like it would be terrible television if anybody did it at any extended period of time. I think for those reasons, more so than the safety reasons, I think the NFL is going to eliminate it.
I think you sound like a limp-wristed pussy.
Well,
I'm sorry, you do. If you want to stop it on 1st and 2nd down. Don't let it be 3rd and short. Don't let it be 4th and short. I don't have any.
But it really just comes down to. And thanks for the lip person.
You're welcome. But, no excuses. You got to change a rule because one team is good on. If the Niners did this,
it puts your quarterback
rules.
No, but it puts your quarterback.
You would never for a second give a shit about quarterbacks.
No, I don't love it. I don't love the helmet to helmet on the quarterback. 1, 2, I don't like watching that particular play. So it's like, I think more than anything, there has to be some adjustment. And to me, the adjustment is you get your initial push, and then the whistle has to blow. It can't just be you just keep getting to push and push.
I think the only rule change is there's no pushing behind the actual quarterback. You can't physically push the forward. But to me, it's
right. Exactly. Think about that. Think about this. You can't run up the back of your offensive lineman and vault over. You can't do that. You can't use somebody else's body to vault yourself over. Okay, so you can't do that, but you can get behind the quarterback and push him with guys that are 350 pounds. It's like the biggest mass is going to win. I mean, what's next? Is somebody going to sign, a sumo wrestler who's like, 700 pounds, and he's just going to sit there in the backfield and just absolutely sprint forward? And
Tommy, it's like, have a sumo goalie, sumo goalie.
But it celebrates mass. I mean, it's like the NBA was the NBA pussies when they got rid of hand checking. No, they wanted a free flow. They wanted a free flowing game. I mean, is it better to watch Steph score or watch somebody put a arm into Steph's ribs? You know what I mean? It's like anything else. It's like, do you want to have a world where guys are just rugby scrumming on short yardage, or do you want to see them actually call play? So, I mean, I think it has a lot to do with that. I think their concern is player safety, but I think their equal concern is how bad it televises. It's a terrible play. Nobody wants to watch it. And if anybody ever went no huddle on it, it would be a nightmare. The sport would cease to exist.
If the Niners had mastered it, it'd be your favorite play in the world. You just sound like I'm
an anti-tush push person, whether it's for me or against me. First of all, it's not an entertaining play. So it's like, we're not seeing the whole thing is the greatest athletes in the world, all this athleticism.
The New York Jets aren't entertaining, but they're in the NFL too. So it's part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think, you got to think about it. If every team did this, and if it's such a copycat league that if they allow it the way they allow it right now, where right now you get an initial surge, but they don't blow the whistle. They don't blow the whistle to the runner's knees down. So then it's just like, get low, but don't put your knee down, and then get guys behind you, and you get a second surge, and then you get a third surge. I mean, really, there's nothing that stops you from, and it becomes a very complicated deal to officiate. Where was his forward progress halted? When did the whistle blow? It just, I don't know. It's just, I don't love it for lots of reasons, but, I more than anything, I really think that Philly's so good at it. That's really the problem. They've converted coming into tonight. I think it was 62 of 68 over the last two seasons. That's incredible.
Again, and if it were that easy, everyone would do it. They're onto something. To me, I hate we're going to change the rules to eliminate this.
Right.
I hate that. Your defense needs to be better on first and second down, and the 49ers defense was good enough on first and second down. I'll tell you, I was surprised that Sirianni didn't go for it on 4th and 2 late on his side of the field. And all his belief in the tush push didn't have him run it then. Sometimes you beat a team because you're the bigger, more physical object. I got no problem with physical football. I got no problem with, it wasn't very aesthetically pleasing on the eye. I mean, dude, I'm a Big Ten fan. It's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I like football like that. I really do.
But think about it this way. If you were Roger Goodell and you were looking at the numbers that showed that millions fewer people turned on the TV as soon as the quarterback went out, and you're staring potentially at the kind of play that welcomes helmet to helmet on the
run
quarterback.
It at your own risk. Then it's
it's one of those things where it's your job to make sure that the best players are on the field, so you're making money. I mean, I personally, if it was a great play, I'd say keep it, but because I really think what it is an illegal play, because you don't get one push like every other play. You get a second push and a third push, and you get help, and it becomes a rugby scrum thing. It's not really a football play. It's just to me, it's a play that either officiate it better, which means blow that whistle after the first surge. You give them one surge. They want to go super everything down low. That's great. It's called a quarterback sneak. One surge, but not one surge. But he's not down. He gets a second surge. Now there's 3 guys behind him pushing him. Now he's getting a third surge. That to me is contrived. Chris says, I get why Hurts is an MVP candidate, but today maybe he's not. To me, Purdy is playing better. Well, Purdy definitely played better in this game. There's no question about that. Jeff Taylor says, how confident are you about Niners coming back to Philly and doing this again in the playoffs?
You might not even have to. You might not have to go back to Philly. But I
feel very confident based on what I saw today.
Yeah, the Niners had the kind of afternoon where doubting them is only something that you'll do if you want to. There's no reason to doubt the Niners beyond a health situation changing. They're as good as any team that can make a claim to think that they're good enough to win a Super Bowl this year. And that's all you can be. All you can be is in that small group that very small handful of teams that are beyond just, they could be good enough to reach the postseason and be in that small handful of teams that are true contenders. The Niners are in that small handful of teams right now. They can win a Super Bowl as much as anyone can make the argument, well, we can win a Super Bowl too.
I got one primary question we're going to finish with. Be lit. Is that what it says? Be lit. New member. There you go. New member. And I'm not sure. He might be a new member here. He might be a new member for you, Baller, because I think he's got that little insignia means he might be a new Baller member. Jesse Wade says the edge containment tonight was spectacular. Yeah, they've done a really good job since they got Chase Young at staying in their lanes. Think about last week against Geno. Geno didn't get loose for a bunch of rush yards.
Extra discipline tonight.
They did the best job I've seen any team do since I've been watching Hurts. It seemed like not only did he not know where to go, there were times where he ran right into where their defenders were. I mean, it was amazing. Hurts is usually genius in his movement within the pocket. There were a couple plays tonight where or this afternoon, if he's on the West Coast, he ran right to where he was in an open space and ran right to where there were two Niner defenders and they sacked him. It was the one where Armstead got the sack. He just ran right over to where Armstead just was. Literally ran into Armstead between two Niner defensive linemen, right in the middle of it. It's like, wow, I couldn't believe what I was watching there. All right. Appreciate all the supers. Last question. Right now, if you're doing an NFL power rankings, give me your two top teams. We still don't have the Monday night game, but go ahead, Ryan. What were you going to say?
So I have a little spin on this, just another like hacky, sports radio sort of topic.
Yeah.
With all of the craziness that got announced this morning at 9, with the college football playoff, if there was a college football playoff for the NFL, who would be your 4 teams?
If there was a college football playoff.
Just picking
like
4.
If there was an NFL playoff, but we just had to decide the 4. Yeah.
So basically,
we picked the 4s, not based on them.
Not based on record. It's really based more on just who's the best 4 teams.
Ooh, yeah. I like that.
Do you have to go 2 and 2 by conference, or could you have all of them be in one conference?
All 4 could be in anywhere.
Yeah, I think all 4.
Okay, I would take 49ers, Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs.
I'm going to do all the same, but I'm going to take the Dolphins instead.
I'll
take the Dolphins instead of the Chiefs.
49ers, Cowboys, Chiefs. Maybe the Jaguars are going to surprise us.
No Eagles? You're putting the Cowboys in over the Eagles? They've already played. Philly beat them.
Well, right, but what could happen next week?
Well, that's true.
So I'm dude, Cowboys are cooking right now, man. I mean, it's
they're scoring points. They are scoring points.
Yeah,
but they're also giving up a lot of points.
Yeah. Well, so did the Eagles today. Again, I just trying to be a little different here. I like that Dolphins call. The Dolphins could have something for us.
Dolphins
done too.
No problem.
I support it, Coach.
Independent thinker, baller.
Yeah, I'm going Niners, Eagles. I'm showing the Chiefs the appropriate respect. 8-3 Super Bowl champs last year. I got the Chiefs in there, and then it's Dolphins, Ravens for me. And there, I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think that defense has been outstanding this year. Lamar gets in the playoffs. He can take over any game that he's in. So that's my 4.
I'm going to go a little controversial here. This is very SEC heavy or whatever. Just because the Chiefs are trending at losing this game. I mean, they're down 9, going into the fourth quarter. I'm going to leave the Chiefs out. I'm going to only go one AFC team. I'm going to go Baltimore, and then I'm going to go Eagles, Cowboys, Niners.
Wow, another Cowboys. You guys really believe in the Cowboys?
The Cowboys would be interesting because there's a world that they could end up with the 1 seed.
Oh yeah,
and Actually, I would prefer that they be the 1 seed if the Niners don't get it than Philly, because I think Philly would go in and probably, it doesn't matter who, I think Philly would end up beating them in the 1-4 game after the Philly wins the wild card. And then I think the Niners would have Philly at home. I think Niners being the 2 seed, but I do see this being 4 teams. Any one of them could be the 1 seed, whether it's 49ers, Detroit, Philly, or the Cowboys. But the Cowboys and Detroit play each other toward the end of the year. I think it's week 17, I think, in Dallas. So I think one of those will get knocked off. I think the Niners have the ability to run the table as they did last year. What did they win last year? 10 in a row?
10,
yeah. So
nobody said Detroit. Detroit was left out of everybody's Final Four there.
And they have a great resume win beating the Chiefs early in the year.
They don't look that dangerous to me. I mean,
they're second. They're back second.
They almost blew it to New Orleans today.
They did.
Oh.
Are you guys worried at all about?
I got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Two
Oh.
radio legends here. You got the drive, the morning drive show tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. What's the lead story for you guys tomorrow morning if Ohtani signed with the Giants tonight after the Niners clobbering the Eagles? What's the
49ers wake up, Dan? We're on brand. It's called 49ers wake up. It's not House of the Rising Sun. It's not the Shohei Ohtani show. It's 49ers wake up.
That would top if the Giants signed Ohtani tonight. That would be the number one subject.
What kind of peyote are you eating? Do you think the Giants are signing Shohei Ohtani tonight?
No, this is a hypothetical question.
How about do you have sources at Del Boca Vista?
It does get a mention. It certainly, it's the only other topic that would be
more than a mention.
It gets a mention.
Really?
Hey, by the way, did you see? I'm watching the MLB Network Friday night, Damon. Did you catch this?
See what?
Your title sponsor of the Damon Bruce extravaganza, and everybody we got 1,000 people in the room right now. Everybody go sign up right now for Damon Bruce. He just had 1,000 new subs in the last 1 week alone. But your sponsor, Ike, did a segment on the MLB Network saying that if the Giants sign Shohei Ohtani, he will change his Ike sandwiches to Shohei and Ike sandwiches.
Yeah, it's
no way.
Great move,
Yes.
great marketing, great. Probably
and give him lifetime free sandwiches.
Probably not in all locations, but in certainly the ones in San Francisco. But yeah, look, great. That's great guerrilla marketing by Ike. Way to get on TMZ.
Look at Ike,
like the mattress guy down in Houston.
Mattress Mike or whatever. Mattress
Ike.
Mac.
Totally. How about this? If they sign Shohei Ohtani, it will be mentioned, but it's 49ers wake up. The focus is legit. It's these other shows that are all over the place, and people don't want all over the place. They want a specific broadcast, and Niners fans are showing up, and the amount of Giants fans that there are these days is, people lean forward if it's Ohtani, but the NFL dwarfs Shohei Ohtani hitting in the middle of the Yankees lineup. It's the NFL. So at 8 a.m. West Coast, 49ers wake up, simulcast, Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. We will dwarf the combined audience of both radio stations. That's the one thing I do know, guaranteed.
Let me before you go on, this is just an awesome piece of audio right here. Listen to this. This is incredible. This is Big Trent Williams.
What does it mean? What does it say to come back here against this team and win that passion by that kind of margin?
I guess it's up to y'all to kind of interpret it, but I had full confidence that we would have this type of game from the jump. We got a quarterback, so it made it a lot easier this time.
There you go. We got a quarterback. Makes it a lot easier when you got a quarterback.
You know what I wanted to bring up a little bit. We're talking trap games. So the last time we were comparing this win a lot to the Dallas game, obviously. Those are the two big games that were circled this year. They showed up, blew them out in both. However, after the Dallas game is when the 3-game losing streak happened. The team and Shanahan even admitted, they started to kind of like for the first time, like they were like, oh wow, we're pretty good. Like they started kind of feeling like, they had made it, and then they just got, they lost 3 in a row. Is there any concern going forward that this sort of same thing can happen with the Seahawks?
None. They learn from that, and they also have Trent Williams and Deebo playing. You got to remember those 2 guys were out for those 3 losses. That's a huge factor. I don't see this is a team of professionals. I think they take it week by week. I don't think this is a team that's going to get ahead of itself. I think they focus I think sometimes those type of things that happen to you can be season-changing events that make your team more focused. So I think you learn from that. Sometimes you hate to lose, but there are some good losses to have on your resume. And a 3-game losing streak like that to a team that wants to win the whole thing, that's got to be a wake-up call. I think they come out and take Seattle to task.
Those are maybe 2 of the best quarterbacks they're going to face all year. I mean, Cousins was absolutely outstanding that night on 3rd down. He just lit them up on 3rd down. And I thought the Bengals were a Super Bowl, team for sure.
With
when
Burrow.
I saw Joe Burrow was spectacular that day, and he's got great weapons, and they looked amazing that day. Guys, but then the Niners did rebound after the bye. Luckily, they got the bye right then because they were reeling and they were dragging physically, emotionally. They just seemed to be, their whole energy thing was down. They were falling off tackles. They missed a ton of tackles in that Bengal game. They got rested. They added Chase Young. They switched out Oliver for Ambry Thomas in the backfield. And I think they came out of that bye with a locker room full of really talented guys going, okay, it's time to get to the next level. And they have here. Now they've won 4 in a row.
Do you see the way Trent was dressed? That's all you need to see the way Trent was dressed like he just murdered 5 people and kidnapped 3 others. Trent is in a straight up cocaine dealer. I'm here to just snatch souls mode. This team's wearing black and killing people for the rest of the year. They're not afraid.
They look like they just came from the bada bing.
Absolutely.
You look at the schedule. This is why I think Dallas beats Philly, because the Niners, when they lost those 3 in a row, they had the Monday night game in Minnesota, had to come home to a rested Cincinnati Bengal team coming off their bye. Now, Philadelphia's had a gauntlet of a schedule. They're going into a hot Dallas team who's going to be rested and waiting for them at home. And Dallas got beat by them by 5 in Philly.
Dallas completely outplayed him in that game, too.
Yes, exactly. I think Dallas beats him by more than a touchdown.
Yeah, that would be great to see. Because the 49ers, and it's going to be interesting. Can the Niners run the table? I mean, it's a week by week thing for sure, because it's going to be a monumental challenge to do that, to run the table. Purdy, though, what's the talk around the country tomorrow about Brock Purdy? He now ranks 1st in the NFL in passer rating, 1st in the NFL in completion percentage, 1st in the NFL in touchdowns per attempt, 1st in the NFL in yards per attempt, and 1st in the NFL in yards per completion, probably 1st in a number of other categories as well, but definitely 1st in those 5 primary categories. What do you think?
He was first coming into this game in all those categories. They had all those data points that they were trying to ignore coming into this game. They'll do their best to ignore them tomorrow, but it won't matter because Purdy put the pelt on the wall. A lot of people thought he wouldn't go get. He just continues to prove everybody wrong with every single game he plays and inventing ways to come up with what he is not. It's a near impossible task at this point. If data points and statistics matter, which in sports they have to, your opinion cannot trump factual, actual return data points that also correlate with a win of the year in the most hostile environment you're going to find and a team that looks like they can beat anybody. Like, again, you're going to have to invent ways to disparage Brock Purdy, and there will be producers at every network working on those ways to invent it, but you can't ignore him anymore. And he's in the MVP conversation, whether Nick Wright or anybody else wants him or not. He is going to be in that conversation from here on out, and he should be That's how good he's been. I got to go. I told Jillian I had about a half an hour for you. I got to run. Larry, 49ers wake up 8 a.m. Rest of you guys, always so good to see all of you. Thanks for having me as a small part of this. It's always a pleasure to join you. Hit like, hit subscribe, and all those good things. Take care.
Damon, appreciate you. We'll see you soon. I want to share the screen on this thing that Kev tweeted, which I think is actually,
oh yeah.
Wait a second. Did I already share the screen? Here, let me do it again.
Who was that crying there, Rye, getting carted off?
I didn't see.
Kansas City.
But
Somebody
did you see Carter was crying also in the game?
Let me go back.
Kind of wild. I mean, I don't know. It's a nothing. But just like, I think he's just like pretty bummed out.
Here we go.
Oh, who's number 6 for Kansas City?
I don't know.
Kev tweeted this out. Top 5 passer rating games this season. Brock Purdy's got the highest. He's got one of the top 8. He's got 1, 5, 6, and 7 of the top 7 of the top. I mean, it's amazing. He's got 4 of the top 7 passer rating games this season.
I'm guessing 2 of those were the Cowboys and the Eagles game too,
including number 1.
And one of them's got to be the Cardinals. I was at that Cardinals game where he was 20 of 21. Only threw like 1 incompletion that whole game. And fellas, the last 2 games, Brock Purdy has went on the road in some of the most hostile environments in the NFL. When you're talking at Lumen Field in Seattle, and then today what he did. So he's doing it again in hostile environments. And I think that's good. People were talking about Purdy hasn't came from behind. Yeah, I know it was only 6-0, but I mean, I was getting pretty nervous here early on with a couple 3-and-outs, and the Eagles are marching the ball down the field, and then Purdy turned it on. Kyle got in his bag, started running the ball, getting under center. And
is this his best performance when you consider the stage and the environment? 4 touchdowns, no picks. They blew out maybe the best team in the conference on the road, while scoring in the 40s. I mean, scoring on 6 straight possessions. I mean, to me, I put this in a higher category than completing 95% against the Cardinals.
He also had 4 versus the Cowboys. It's tough because this is all of a sudden now I'm going to sound like a Brock hater or something. But like, if you're factoring, I guess, like if you look on paper, it probably is in the circumstance, but he's had games where he's just thrown like absolute dots down the field. And there was a lot of like, the playmakers making sick plays.
Amazing night. Guys, I'm gonna end it right here. We're 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours in. Still almost 1,000 people in the room, but let me help you guys promote your channels a little bit. First, we'll start with Baller, Bay Area Baller. Everybody join Baller's channel. It's fantastic. Bay Area Baller 18. He does great content, talks Niners, talks Warriors, big Bay Area sports fan. Baller, tell people what you got coming up on your channel.
Hey, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, right after Monday Night Football, I'll be live with 3 of my buddies. All of us are from the Bay Area. We'll be talking Niners straight out of the Bay. Shout out to Kelch and Jay and Amin the Dream. And fellas, I think the 5 weapons the Niners have, I'm taking them over any group of 5 weapons in the NFL. When you're talking Deebo, B.A., Kittle, McCaffrey, and Jawan Jennings. I don't think we talked about Jawan quite enough today because it felt like when Jawan, it's like the Dos Equis commercial. It's like when I drink beer, it's Dos Equis. But when Jawan Jennings makes a play, it's a big freaking play. It's
when
probably
they need
coming
a play,
on 3rd
they're
down.
looking to him.
Yeah, Larry. And when he catches the ball, it's just like Deebo. It's just like Kittle. He's so physical after the catch. There could be 2 or 3 guys on him. He threw an Eagle defender down with a vicious stiff arm. I love the weapons we have and how they all maximize their targets because not all of them can get 10, to 15 targets a game. They might only get 5 or 6, but they maximize them. They're at 17 yards a catch, like George Kittle today. So Brock Purdy, keep it up. All these weapons, it's the most talented 5-man group of weapons in the league. The defense is picking it up. This is the Super Bowl season. Hey, subscribe to the channel. Fellas, nice talking ball. Catch y'all next week.
There you
All right,
go.
baller.
Later, baller.
Rye's got his channel as well. West Coast Bias. He's West Coast Smitty on X, but he's West Coast Bias on YouTube. And Rye, tell people what you've been doing on the channel and what you got cooking here in the next few days.
It's a lot of Warriors. Usually also we'll go through every single game from the Sunday slate. Probably do that tomorrow, not tonight. Talking college football, talking playoff. That was another thing we haven't talked about is like, this is the most entertaining.
Who do you want in the 4? Or you're going to say, who do you want in the 4 in the 4 for the playoffs? I mean, it's already been decided, right?
It's already been decided. I think it's as entertaining as it possibly. We were talking about this on.
So you knew Michigan was going to be in, right? Michigan, you had to be in. They shut out Iowa. Washington had to be in because they beat Oregon in the Pac-12 title game Friday night. They're undefeated. Those 2 undefeated teams. I thought Georgia is the best team in the country, and their only loss is to Bama. To me, they should be in over Bama, but they're not because Bama beat them in the conference title game. Despite the fact Georgia's only loss is to Bama, and Bama's loss is to Texas earlier this year.
At home.
And then Texas, is really Texas better than Bama? Probably not.
I think so. I think
they are.
I don't think so now. Like if we're actually like setting a point spread, but I mean they caught him early in the year before Milroe really started, playing well. But like
Texas,
the way
Texas is in.
Yeah.
And then Florida State lost their quarterback and had to go to the freshman. Now they got defense for days, and their defense suffocated Louisville last night. But I knew they were going to get squeezed. I mean, it's the ACC, right? I mean, the ACC is not the same. But I was surprised that Georgia. So it's Washington, Michigan, Texas, and Bama.
Yeah, it's one is Michigan, 4 is Alabama. So those 2, 1 and 4.
I would have taken out Texas and put in Georgia.
But it's kind of nice that Georgia's out because I feel like Georgia would just house whoever they had in the first round. But now it's like we get Washington, Texas is all of a sudden like a great game.
Oh, yeah,
and same thing with Bama, Michigan is going to be an awesome game.
Oh, yeah.
I like Washington.
I love Washington too.
I want to see Washington. Yeah.
And if it's Washington, Michigan, then all of a sudden it's like the first little bit of like a new budding rivalry in the Big Ten, so that whatever weird rivalry, Washington and Michigan. But if it's Texas, Bama, that all of a sudden is like a real rivalry because Texas already beat them in their place. And then this is the year before they go into the SEC, and now they're playing for the championship.
There's some interesting subplots. I mean, you got Texas playing Washington. That was Sark's first head coaching job was at UW. So that's kind of a little interesting twist. But I think the Washington
Oregon was disappointing Friday night.
Oh my God. What the hell? They got like beat up in the trenches like Washington.
Favorites.
Yeah.
Weren't they like 16
by 9?
No, I think more. Wasn't it?
That was 9.
It was like 9.5.
Yeah. 9.5. But I had Oregon, but I'll tell you, Washington looked really good. And the two receivers that Washington
or whatever.
Those are 2 NFL. Those are 2 guys you're going to see a lot of.
Penix didn't even play that great, and they still won. I thought the running back played really well, and Washington's defense.
Yeah.
Washington's defense came to play.
Yeah. It was almost like Washington was being ignored. Everybody, it was a foregone conclusion that Oregon was going to beat them, I think.
It actually scared me about
defense, though, was wicked, man.
Oh, it is. It is. I saw someone tweet, put them, they need to do some bowl game where it's Florida State versus Iowa. And it's just
Florida State versus
first 1 to
Georgia
7.
How about Florida State versus Georgia? Yeah, well, Iowa's defense is really good, too. But I knew they couldn't score.
No,
I mean, they couldn't score this year against teams that had no D.
Yeah, I bet the under 3.5 in the first half. That one cashed.
That was I took what I took. I took Michigan and Florida State on the teaser,
Ooh.
which is covered for fun. But and I had Niners. I had Niners today on the teaser to the over. And I was nervous early because there wasn't a lot of scoring early in this game. And then all of a sudden, the offenses got dialed in.
Oh, yeah.
The Niners, the one thing about this game that was really impressive is that the 49er offense looks borderline unstoppable, because they've got so many weapons, and now they've got a guy who can carry out the plays. And Kyle's such a great play designer. So you got an elite play designer, and a guy who can make some of those throws that Brock makes in the short and intermediate are just on the money. I mean, it's like you don't even realize how great these passes are. He makes it look so easy. He puts it on guys' hands routinely. And then he's got all these weapons. So you got these play designs that are freaky good. And then you got Ayuk and Deebo and Kittle and CMC and, weapons they don't even use, like JP Mason and Mitchell. And they just looked big time. They really looked big time.
And who doesn't get enough credit, doesn't get talked about hardly at all. We didn't even mention his name on the show, but he's a key component is Kyle Juszczyk. When he comes into the ballgame, that run play to McCaffrey when they went to the left side, and it's just, you watch Juszczyk, he just always blows out his guy, and then Trent blows his guy out, and it's like it's almost unstoppable when Juszczyk is the lead blocker.
Yeah, no question. Also, I think, really, really encouraging when you look at the Niners' top 5 tacklers. Okay, you got Gibson, who's you expect in there, and you got Bosa, you expect him in there, and you got Greenlaw, he's been in there all year. But then you also have Ambry Thomas and Jair Brown, and these two guys weren't even playing at all.
Yeah,
3-4 weeks ago, and now, I mean, Ambry's coverage is tight. Jair Brown is physical. These guys are throwing themselves around. I love what I'm seeing out of the young DBs. I mean, if there's one thing to be super excited about if you're a 49er fan, they got 5 really, really good, probably 6 if you want to include Hufanga as a young guy because he is. Hufanga, Jair Brown, Ambry Thomas, Diamador Lenore, Samuel Womack, Darrell Luter Jr. You got 6 young defensive backs that have talent and speed.
And the key to that,
you got Wilkes
season,
coaching him up. Yeah. He's a DB coach. So
right. And the key,
they got a nice defensive group in the back end right now.
The key is when they made the switch to get
Ambry in the lineup.
Yeah, get him in the slot and get rid of
Isaiah
Oliver. When they took him out, even they mentioned on the broadcast today that Wilkes said that was the key of getting their 3 best corners in there with speed when they put Thomas in there. So I'm loving the fact that the D is starting to pick up.
I fully wrote off Ambry Thomas. It's crazy. Like if you were to say like at the beginning of the year, like I just assumed it would kind of be like another classic Niners year. Like they're going to be led by their defense and their run game. And it's it's kind of almost it's just their offense in general is like the number one thing. And then their secondary's been like pretty incredible the past like 3-4 weeks. And it kind of feels like those are like, and then it's like, and then you have the pass rush, which is going to get home, even though it didn't get home that much today.
Well, they've gotten some really good athletes on the back end. That's the one thing they do. All these guys we're talking about are all really good athletes. Ambry was a 3rd-round pick for a reason. He runs 4.4 flat. Womack's very fast. And Luter, we saw run down Eskridge. And then you got Jair Brown. Jair Brown is like a total blue chip player. I don't know. They ran 4.65. If he had run a little faster, he would have gone in the first round. Instead, he went in like 87th overall or whatever because he ran in the 4.6s. But if you went back to the games, he was the defensive MVP against Utah for Penn State in the Rose Bowl, his final game in college. He's a really good, productive football player. And, they always say in the NFL, well, somebody goes down, next man up. Well, that's like such a cliche and it means absolutely nothing. It's like what matters is who is the next man up. And if the next man up is Brock Purdy, and you're going from Jimmy Garoppolo to Brock Purdy, then you can say next man up. If the next man up can't play at all, then your season could be over. And when Hufanga went down, the Niners went next man up with Jair, but Jair's ready to roll. And it's really fun watching him because it's like he's really energetic, really enthusiastic, very confident, but he's physical, man. He'll step in there and hit you. And he doesn't seem like he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. You haven't heard him with like a lot of coverage breakdowns. He's been pretty solid. So I'm excited to see, what the young DBs can do the rest of this year. Two more super series. Nees says, I don't think Kyle respects Sirianni and wanted to prove a point. I don't know. I know I don't. MF says, Larry, I just heard Farhan on with Jim Bowden from MLB Sirius XM. Ready for another letdown. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh,
Whether
no.
Packers are driving 21-19.
What do you think MF is talking about, Danny?
Ready for another letdown? Yeah.
I'll tell you, can I just say this? Let's just assume that the Niners aren't getting Shohei because
you mean the Giants?
The Giants. Well,
yeah.
The Niners aren't getting him either.
Yeah.
Neither the Giants nor the Niners are getting Shohei. But let's pretend for a second that we know for sure that the Giants aren't getting Shohei because let's be honest, the Giants aren't getting Shohei. They just don't. They just, I'm not sure why. I don't have a definitive sources or anything. I haven't been on Jeopardy, but I'm pretty sure that they're not going to get Shohei. But you know what? I was thinking watching some of these highlights, why not pivot to some more reasonable guys that you can get and get more aggressive? Do the Giants need Shohei? They need Shohei to sell tickets, but they don't need Shohei necessarily. What they need is power. And these guys who can hit 3, 4, 5. What do you think of, if they don't get Shohei, pivoting quickly to a combination of Reese Hoskins and Jorge Soler? Because Jorge Soler, I think, could be that big right-handed power hitting outfielder, and you could get a lot of power out of those two guys. To me, I think that you could do that for a fraction of the money that it would take for Shohei.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you could. I mean, it would be, my recommendation is, if I'm going after Shohei, I'm presenting the whole thing. I'm moving in. I'm getting rid of Triples Alley and I'm putting in a different fence, a lower fence, and I'm making the power alleys like 375. Forget that 415 crap. I mean, make that ballpark like the rest of the ballparks, and you'll start attracting left-handed power hitters. But I don't see. I like the idea of Soler because he is, he can hit. I mean, that guy can hit the long ball, and you get him and Hoskins, and then get Yamamoto, get some pitching. I'd sign. They need 2 or 3 impact players minimum, at least 2, preferably 3, and a 4th. I mean, this roster as it's constructed is a 4th place team. Let's just be honest. It's not. I mean, they're a year older, and they're.
It'd be nice if they could get like a Bellinger if they couldn't get Shohei, but Yamamoto and some combination of power hitters would be fine with me.
Yeah,
if they got Yamamoto and Reese Hoskins and Soler, I could be happy with that. I don't need Shohei, but I think the Giants owners badly want Shohei for the draw. You know what I mean? They want to be able to sell the tickets. They want, he's an international superstar. He's covered no matter where, what team he's on.
My prediction is that I don't know if he's coming to the Giants. I doubt it, but my prediction is that the Giants will have offered not even close, but they will offer close to $600 million or over 600 or over. And it's, if they don't get him,
don't you think he kind of high? If I were the Giants, I think I'd want all of this to be just never come out, like private. Like we Because why you don't want to be the Giants offered. You're never going to believe this. The Giants offered $17 trillion, and he said no. He said no.
Oh, that's
It's like we don't want to. Do we really want to hear It's like I invited her to the prom and I gave her a limo, and she still wouldn't come. She still wouldn't be my date. Do we really want to know what the failed prom invite sounds like? You know what I mean? It's like that hurts more than losing out. It's like the Giants offered $150 million more, and he still turned it down. That's like the extra kick to the gut,
And he wants to, and it's amongst only West teams.
Yeah, he wanted to be in a maritime climate on the West Coast, and the Giants offered $700 million. And the next best offer was $100 million less, but he just decided to go there instead.
Wait, so where is he probably going to end up? The Dodgers?
Most likely the Dodgers. There's some talk it could be the Cubs or the Blue Jays.
Supposedly, I will encourage people, if they haven't heard the Tim Kawakami podcast with Dave Fleming. Dave went on there and said that obviously the Giants are still big players for Shohei, and not that we needed Dave to tell us that, but he said that the Giants have been after Yamamoto literally for years, and that they've been trying to work angles on getting Yamamoto to sign with the Giants for years. So that's interesting. And then he also said that when the Giants have gone to Philly in the past, that Rhys Hoskins was always, super local, super loves the Giants, knows the announcers, quoting things that they've said about the team. So it sounds like he's not just kind of a Giants fan. It sounds like he's a major Giants fan. And to me, that plays well. I know people would say, oh, go get Chapman, but you already have Casey Schmidt sitting there, and the Gold Glove third baseman are hard to find. And if you could add Rhys Hoskins at first, and then you around the diamond, you got Bailey behind the plate, Rhys Hoskins at first. You got, obviously Luciano at short, and you got Tyro at second, and maybe you could get one more infielder, Jorge Polanco or somebody like that, so maybe Tyro could play both sides of the bag, and then you get JD Davis and Casey Schmidt at third. If you had that kind of an infield, I think you're kind of set in the infield. And then you get one good outfielder like a Bellinger. I think the rest of the outfield you could fill in with the Mecklers and the Ramoses and the Slaters you don't need tons, but if you could get one big time outfielder, and Yamamoto and Hoskins, I think you could cobble together something even without getting Shohei. You could lose out on Shohei, and if you pivoted to these other guys quickly, you could have an incredible offseason.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they could. They need to do something. They can't come back with the same team. They just can't. There's going to have to be something that changes. So, we'll talk about it tonight on my channel too as well. We're going to cover the Niners game a little bit more, and then we're going to talk about the Giants and what can be done, what they should be doing, and that's at 8:30 on NorCal Sports Network. Larry, if you're available, have everybody come over. We're so close to 1,000 subs. We're like 20 away. So
no, Mahomes got picked. Yeah,
he just got picked. Oh, nice. All I got to do is run it down.
The great helmet game, the first Super Bowl, Chiefs.
Oh yeah, 1960
Chiefs Packers.
And my dad was there. My dad was at that game.
Packers are beating the Chiefs 24-19. We're in this game. Is just 4 minutes left to play?
5.
What the hell?
5 minutes left to play in the fourth quarter, and the Green Bay just picked him off.
I don't understand. Kansas City's defense just hasn't looked good today. I thought that was the one thing you could bank on. I'm
interesting.
This Chiefs team has me completely off the scent. I don't know what to think.
Are the Chiefs? I always have kind of assumed the Chiefs are going to be the team in Vegas representing the AFC. If you were gambling right now, would you say it's Chiefs, Ravens, Dolphins? Who do you got?
I I like the Ravens and the Dolphins over the Chiefs. The Dolphins defense, once they got Jalen Ramsey back, and I mean, they did lose Phillips a week or so ago to an ACL or an Achilles, I mean. But the Dolphins defense is picked up. And that offense, man, with A-Chain and Tyreek and Mozart, I mean, and if Tua just distributes, if he just distributes and doesn't try and do too much, I don't know how you stop Tyreek Hill, man. He's open all the time.
Oh, he's so frightening.
So fast. The guy's so unbelievably fast. He's just such an electric player. Their defense, I'll say this, the Dolphins' defense is coming on. And with their explosive offense, if their defense comes on, it could be a Niners-Dolphins showdown, Kyle against his protege in Vegas.
I'd be down for it. That would be a sick Super Bowl. Great uniform matchup. I mean, you can knock the
rematch of the 84 Stanford Super Bowl.
Yes.
You could knock the Dolphins for not beating anybody great, but also at the same token, it's their only losses were at the Bills early in the year when the Bills were still one of the best teams. They still had Milano. And then then Chiefs in Germany, and then at the Eagles. Those are 3 very respectable losses.
Right.
They got a ton of speed. Could you imagine the show that would be? That would be one of the great shows in Super Bowl history.
Oh, yeah.
It would be a phenomenal way for the 49ers to land that final, that 6th Lombardi. Jason McCabe says, "Hey, Sirianni, Eagles, and Dom." It's a great Sunday. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to New York Style Italian Sausage. Thanks to Marin Auto Glass. Thanks to Underdog Fantasy and Mojo Fantasy. Check that link in the description for both of those and use the promo code Krug. And don't forget, of course, to thanks to our title sponsor of the Krug Show, Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check out Danny's channel, NorCal Sports Network. Check out Rise channel as well. West Coast Bias, both outstanding channels. Guys, enjoy your Sunday. If you just tuned in, man, you missed it. 42-19. 49ers go on the road to the Link, and they take down the Eagles. Eagles still the 1 seed, still favored to have the home field advantage in the NFC playoffs and the first round bye, but anything can happen and the season moves on. The Niners had to have this one, give themselves a chance at home field, and they got it. So for Danny and Rye, I'm Larry. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer.